Chapter 1266. If Qin Wenyan wanted to kill Azure Flame Tuo would die for sure. However, Azure Flame Tuo was the brother-in-law of the third princess after all. Also, both the third princess and the Blackstone Devil King lived in the Azure Flame clan. This bloodline connection couldn't be severed. If he killed Azure Flame Tuo, it would only cause the Blackstone Devil King and the third princess to be in danger. Although he didn't kill Azure Flame Tuo, it was clear that Azure Flame Tuo's battle had already ended. Given how heavily injured he was, if he didn't leave the battlefield now, only death would be waiting for him. Azure Flame Tuo fed himself a medicinal pill and climbed up. He flew towards the light screen in the air, leaving the battlefield with hatred and reluctance. Outside, the people from the Azure Flame clan all had ashen expressions. That fellow coldly spoke. Tuer's luck is a little bad, he actually encountered that fellow. The Blackstone Devil King laughed mockingly. Blackstone Devil King, what do you mean by this? A Devil King from the Azure Flame clan coldly spoke. Before this, didn't you guys notice him greeting me? He is none other than the Devil General under me. The Blackstone Devil King coldly laughed. After that, the expressions of the people from the Azure Flame clan changed, becoming extremely unsightly to behold. Earlier, they were still mocking the third princess for falling in love with a devil general and suggested for her to marry Azure Flame Tuo, saying that it would be an honor for Yen Yuruo. But in the blink of an eye, their pride, Azure Flame Tuo, was mercilessly defeated by the devil general of the Blackstone Devil King. Snorting coldly, the people from the Azure Flame clan didn't say anything. The truth was before their eyes, they had no way to refute it. On the other side, Yen Yusun's countenance was as pale as paper, extremely unsightly to behold. Her right now had an indescribable feeling in her heart. They didn't even bother to look at the young man in the eye. Most probably, he also didn't think highly of her and her husband. Hence, he very naturally chose to leave. As for the battle on the battlefield, there was no doubt that they were the ones seeking humiliation for themselves. If it wasn't for the mocking earlier, how would there be the humiliation and anger they felt now? After Azure Flame Tuo returned, he directly walked back to his seat. His body was trembling as those words resounded in his ears. So it turns out that you are so weak. He, Azure Flame Tuo, was so weak, yet he still thought so highly of himself. The impact of this battle to the people of the Azure Flame clan was extremely great. Maybe, the defeat of a genius on the battlefield would affect the hearts of many. But to the victors, they wouldn't think too much about it. The battles would continue and more people would be eliminated. This was especially so to Qin Wenyan. Azure Flame Tuo had never been his target, it was just a coincidence that he encountered him. If they hadn't met, he might have even forgotten the existence of this person. This forest seemed to be extremely vast. Qin Wenyan continued moving forward, and occasionally he would see battles erupting. When those people saw him, they would instantly be filled with wariness, wanting to prevent him from launching a sneak attack. However, Qin Wenyan would only cast a glance at them before leaving. He had no mood to interfere with the battles of others. He only had a single goal, and that was to stay until the end. He was very clear that in the earlier stages of the battle, it was destined that batches of cannon fodder would be eliminated. There were only a mere 10 people selected by the Devil Emperor. For the others, other than hoping to be selected by the Devil Emperor, they still had hopes of being valued by the Devil sections. But for him, Qin Wenyan, it was different. In truth, if he didn't become one of the 3 chosen by the Devil Emperor, it could already be considered his failure. In the battlefield, the devils fought chaotically. Numerous battles erupted, causing the spectators to be nervous and excited. As for the Devil Kings, they were admiring the characters they selected. However, there was no lack of clever people on the battlefield. They used all kinds of methods to avoid direct confrontation. In the eyes of outsiders, all kinds of methods were exposed. Some people cultivated the art of concealment and took advantage of the weakness of the demonic thoughts to hide in the mountain rocks or bury themselves in the ground. They endured and did not make a move. There were also some who were proficient in listening to the wind and could evade before encountering other devil cultivators. Although such actions were somewhat despicable, It was also an extremely intelligent choice. There were countless experts on the battlefield. Unless you truly stood at the peak, there would always be existences more terrifying than you. If that was the case, you would be eliminated prematurely, not even having the chance to be noticed. True experts have no fear of war. If gods block them, they will kill gods. If devils block them, they will kill devils. A tyrannical devil king spoke. There were some existences who were like this. As the battles continued, these people became more and more conspicuous. For example, Huang Shutian, Xia Yuan, Ba Shao and the others. Many people on the fallen devil island were acquainted with Xia Yuan Ba Xiao. But Huang Shutian caused everyone to sigh in admiration. Before this, the seat he was seated at was the most central area, and the combat prowess he displayed now was truly heaven-shaking. It was like in this vast battlefield, he had never met a true opponent before. A terrifying light screen appeared, revealing half of a devil sword, devil saber and long spear. It was as though half of them were in the void while the other half were outside. With a single thought, the other half of the void would immediately shoot out. At the same time, spatial energy would envelop his opponents, making him invincible. This man, who is he exactly? This thought appeared in the minds of many. Before this, the participants from the core region were all the focus of attention. Undoubtedly, Huang Xiaoyan was the most conspicuous existence among them. In comparison, Qin Wenyan was much dimmer. Although he also defeated several opponents, he lacked the tyrannical aura he exuded. Most of the time, he chose to avoid battles. Gradually, the number of people paying attention to him grew fewer and fewer. Sir Qin, what sort of character are you exactly? Xian Yu was one of the few people who had been paying attention to Qin Wenyan. Facing the threat of Ba Shao, he didn't hesitate and walked out of the Celestial Devil Lodge, domineering and tyrannical. He clearly had great strength, yet he chose to keep a low profile, preferring to be criticized by others, making it hard for others to see through him. He should know that his performance on the battlefield would be seen by the people of the outside world. They are about to encounter each other. At this moment, Xian Yu's eyes flashed as she stared in another direction, in the direction of Ba Shao. To her surprise, she discovered that Ba Shao was actually about to encounter Qin Wentian's subordinate, Cheetah. In addition, they seemed to have already seen each other's existence. Ba Shao stepped out and moved in that direction, appearing before Cheetah. Sir Qin is also in that direction. Xian Yu's beautiful eyes flashed. As to why she noticed that Ba Shao and Cheetah were about to encounter each other, it was because they were in the direction where Qin Wenyan was moving. Although there were still many people in the middle, if Qin Wenyan moved in a straight line, he would definitely encounter them. A tyrannical aura gushed forth from Ba Shao as devil might gushed forth. He stared at Cheetah and spoke, "Before I kill your master, I will take your dog life first." As he finished speaking, he stepped out, and a Haotian demonic hammer appeared in the air. A terrifying hammer smashed down from the sky, and terrifying demonic lightning covered the sky. At the same time, the demonic hammer contained extremely heavy gravity, wanting to crush the space around it. Ba Shao was one of the top 3 rankers on the devil rankings. When his strength erupted forth, it was extremely terrifying. At this instant, Cheetah felt as though he was facing a calamity of death. Boom! Crackling sounds rang out from Cheetah's body. His entire body seemed to grow larger as numerous runes radiated from his bones and meridians. In an instant, his entire body shone with a supreme battle light. The people of the Battle Saint tribe all possessed the Battle Saint blood and the Battle Saint bone. Even though they were stripped of their most terrifying inheritances, they still possessed terrifying talent. Their battle intent soared up into the clouds as a divine battle ape appeared, bearing the weight of the sky on its back. Cheetah lifted his arm as the divine ape did the same, smashing towards the vast sky devil hammer in the air. The simplest attack was also the most violent attack. How could the people of the Battle Saint tribe avoid a battle? A heaven-shaking collision rang out in the air as terrifying explosions rang out, akin to muffled thunder. A moment later, many devil cultivators from afar inclined their heads and stared in the direction of their battle. After that, their bodies flickered as they sped towards the direction of their battle. The battle between Ba Xiao and Qi erupted. The clear sky demonic hammer was domineering and tyrannical, while the battle saint technique was invincible. Ba Xiao was victorious because he had peaked at the threshold of the Devil King realm for a longer period of time, and his cultivation realm was deeper. Who is this man? Ba Xiao is one of the top 3 rankers on the devil rankings. Why can't he defeat an ordinary character? The eyes of everyone flashed. Many people from the fallen Devil Island noticed the battle between Ba Xiao and Qi. The two of them exchanged attacks with attacks. The more they fought, the more violent they became. Such an intense battle caused a huge commotion, attracting the attention of people from far away. There were already many devil cultivators who appeared in that area, quietly spectating the battle. There were also some weaker devil cultivators who silently retreated. Interesting. At this moment, an expert was leaning against a tree, staring at the battle before him. In his hands, there was an ordinary-looking saber that seemed to be used for chopping firewood. It's Old Chai. Since he appeared, Ba Xiao and his opponent are in danger. Someone thought in his heart. Old Chai was an extremely dangerous person. If he were to sit there and reap the benefits, even if Ba Xiao and Yi Shiwen were very powerful, they would still be in danger. What are you guys looking at here for? Don't disturb the battles of others. Old Chai laughed as he walked forward, actually walking towards the center of the battlefield as he spoke to the people in the surroundings. What are you doing here? Someone asked in doubt. Old Chai smiled at him and walked a few steps towards him. I'm naturally here to admire this battle. Such a powerful battle, I don't want to be disturbed by you guys. Is that so? That person's aura gushed forth, staring warily at Old Chai who was walking over. What else? Old Chai laughed as he placed his saber behind his back. But at this very moment, an afterimage appeared. That person's aura abruptly erupted forth as he retreated. Yet at this very moment, Old Chai's hatchet cleaved downwards. As the saber descended, a vertical scar appeared in the air. After that, the crowd only saw a line of blood appearing. That person was still retreating, but his body was actually split apart from the center by a single slash of that saber. What a terrifying saber art! Many people felt their hearts trembling. Everyone be careful. Several devil cultivators walked together, as though they wanted to join forces in order to avoid being hunted down by Old Chai. However, at this moment, Old Chai merely laughed. He inclined his head and stared at the two people fighting in the air. His eyes were filled with a hint of killing intent. With a single slash of his saber, he might have a chance to finish off these two powerful opponents. Old man, you are already so old, yet your attacks are so ruthless. A voice rang out. Old Chai inclined his head as a smile appeared on his face. This person was actually that young man who was seated in the same region as him. Chapter 1267. Old Chai truly looked very old. This was especially so when he smiled. Wrinkles could be seen on his face. With such a cultivation base, yet he still looked so old. This could only mean that he was truly very, very old. Being able to survive in the myriad devil islands despite his age, it could only mean that this person was very intelligent. After all, it was very difficult for a person to not offend others. At Old Chai's age, it was very normal for him to offend people whose cultivation bases surpassed his. Unless those he offended had a lower cultivation base than him or were killed by him. Only then would he be able to continue living well. Being able to live for so long, he was naturally a very dangerous person. I'm already old and can't be compared to you youngsters. If I'm not careful, I might die. Please forgive me. Old Chai clasped his hands to Qin Wenin. Brother, you and I are both capable of reaching the core positions. Why don't we join forces? In that case, I believe there wouldn't be many who could obstruct us. If we join forces, should we kill everyone here first? Qin Wenin smiled. Old Chai inclined his head and glanced at the two people fighting in the air as a meaningful smile appeared on his face. Ba Xiao and Qi were both extremely dangerous people. It would naturally be better for him to get rid of them first. Old bastard, the person in front of me is his subordinate. You want to join forces with him? You won't even know how you died. In the air, Ba Xiao coldly snorted. He naturally understood what sort of character Old Chai was. He definitely couldn't allow Old Chai to act against him. In that case, he could only let Old Chai and Qin Wendian stand against each other. Upon hearing Ba Zhao's words, Old Chai's eyes flashed. He stared at Qin Wendian. Really? Qin Wendian smiled. He didn't admit nor deny. Honestly speaking, I'm already so old. If I continue to stay at this cultivation realm, I'm afraid I might not be able to live on. Hence, I must obtain the Devil Emperor's nomination this time. Old Chai stared at Qin Wendian as he spoke. Our goal is the same. Qin Wendian nodded lightly. He wasn't in a hurry to act. As long as Old Chai didn't provoke him, there was no need for him to fight against such a dangerous fellow. Let's try it out. If I win, you don't have to fight with me. If you win, I won't fight with you. Old Chai stared at Qin Wendian as he spoke. Wielding the hatchet in his hands, he walked towards Qin Wendian as a powerful saber intent gushed forth, ravaging this entire space. The leaves that drifted down from the sky were all shredded into dust. Nothing could get close to Old Chai. Qin Wendian brandished the demon sword as he stared at the approaching Old Chai. Around him, law energy circulated unceasingly. But a shadow appeared as Old Chai's body disappeared. In the next instant, he appeared in the air above Qin Wendian. He waved his hand and the blade fell. It was still an ordinary slash. This slash was as simple as chopping firewood. However, wasn't cultivation also about the simplicity of the Great Tao? When one reached the extreme, they would return to their natural state. As this saber slashed down, boundless saber might converged into a single slash, treating the heavens and earth as firewood. As long as it blocked its path, it would be chopped apart. What was even more terrifying was that the hatchet in Old Chai's hands seemed to have been sharpened. A supreme devilish might gushed forth, descending from the sky. That was a black-colored saber of destruction, causing a black line of destruction to appear in the air. How could this saber merely be used to chop firewood? The color of the sky changed as the expressions of the people in the surroundings turned ashen. If such a saber slashed down on them, they would die for sure. Fast, the speed of this saber art was even faster than lightning. In Old Chai's eyes, there were no longer any traces of aging, only a terrifying killing intent. The instant Old Chai's saber slashed down, Qin Wendian's sword had already moved. His sword hummed as a murderous aura filled the air. At the instant that black-colored saber light slashed down, Qin Wendian's sword suddenly turned incomparably demonic, transforming into a 1,000-meter-long gigantic sword that slashed towards Old Chai in the air. At that instant, the spectators only saw a gigantic rock flying towards the incoming saber light. Gotcha! The saber light and sword light clashed together. At this instant, that destructive light caused the hearts of the spectators to tremble. Old Chai and Qin Wendian both retreated explosively. The terrifying destructive might gushed towards the sky and the ground, causing a gigantic fissure to appear on the ground. He blocked it. The eyes of everyone gleamed with sharpness. Such a terrifying saber strike was actually blocked by Qin Wendian. His reaction speed was truly terrifying. That hatchet is clearly an extremely powerful divine weapon of a devil king. The crowd stared at Old Chai's hands. That seemingly harmless old man suddenly erupted forth with such a destructive saber strike, catching everyone off guard. This Old Chai was simply too dangerous. Qin Wendian was truly terrifying as well. He could even block such a saber strike. In truth, Qin Wendian was also sweating profusely. For an old monster like Old Chai, how could he trust him so easily? Old Chai's appearance and the smile on his face? Being able to live to such an age without dying, it could only mean that this Old Chai was an old monster. Hence, he had been on guard against him. As expected, Old Chai's first strike was an earth-shattering surekill strike, directly using a powerful devil weapon. How would he care about the rules of combat? That saber strike was clearly aiming for his life. Although Old Chai was very old, given that he was able to sit in his region, how could he be weak? In truth, Old Chai was the most dangerous existence in the Devil Foundation realm on the fallen Devil Island. His attack didn't succeed. Old Chai's heart trembled slightly. He glanced at Qin Wenyan, silently musing at how terrifying Qin Wenyan was. Old Chai still had a harmless smile on his face as he spoke, "Farewell." After speaking, he actually turned and departed, avoiding a head-on confrontation with Qin Wenyan. He wouldn't fight a battle he had no confidence in, unless it was at the very last moment. He, Old Chai, wanted a conclusion, but he didn't care about vanity and pride. Just like what he said, he was already very old. If he still couldn't take the step, he would die sooner or later. Only he himself understood how difficult it was for him to live until now. Old Chai actually retreated. The Devil Kings in the outside world felt somewhat bewildered. This was especially so for the Devil Kings of the fallen Devil Island. They all knew what sort of character Old Chai was. Seems like although this little fellow has been avoiding endless battles, his strength is still not bad. The Devil Emperor smiled at the old Xia Devil King beside him, as though intentionally angering him. He knew that the old Xia Devil King liked Huang Shudian the most. "He's not bad, but I don't find him very pleasing to the eye. Huang Shudian suits my taste better." The old Xia Devil King spoke. On the battlefield, Qin Wenyan swept his gaze over the experts in the surroundings. These devil cultivators who didn't leave were clearly waiting to reap the benefits. Cheetah was still fighting. How could he allow these people to take advantage of him? "All of you scram." Qin Wenyan took a few steps forward, standing in the middle of the crowd as he coldly spat out a command. Although he was avoiding battles, he wasn't afraid of them. When the time came, he would naturally stand out. If they didn't scram, he would send them all to scram. There were quite a few devil cultivators who had joined forces. When they heard Qin Wenyan's words, all of them frowned as coldness flashed in their eyes. He told them to scram? Qin Wenyan glanced at their expressions and knew that it wouldn't be so easy for these people to scram. He brandished the demon sword and stepped out towards them. A terrifying light gushed forth from him as numerous ancient runes erupted forth from him, rushing towards the devil cultivators. Quite a few devil cultivators took out their own devil weapons as devil might gushed forth. At this moment, Qin Wenyan's silhouette flashed, vanishing from sight as he directly lunged towards one of the devil cultivators. The countenance of that devil cultivator changed. He lifted a gigantic devil axe and cleaved it down towards Qin Wenyan. "Die!" Qin Wenyan coldly roared. The demon's sword hummed as a great rock flashed past, exuding extreme speed and sharpness. "Poochie!" A piercing sound rang out. Even before the axe light landed, a line of blood appeared on the neck of that person. At this moment, that person's axe slashed down, only to be blocked by Qin Wenyan with a single palm strike. As for that person, he had already died. The other devil cultivators who wanted to step out halted as their countenances turned incredibly unsightly. When Qin Wenyan turned around and stared at them, all of them retreated slightly. "Scram, I won't say it a third time." Qin Wenyan coldly spoke again. The countenances of the few of them grew incredibly unsightly to behold. After which, they turned and departed the area. Very swiftly, only the two of them and Qin Wenyan remained. This fellow. Those in the outside world who were paying attention to Qin Wenyan were speechless. Before this, he didn't have a strong desire to battle. But now, he suddenly became so domineering, driving everyone away. How tyrannical. Avoiding battle wasn't because he was afraid of battle. Seems like these people who wanted to avoid battle couldn't be underestimated. After all of them were here for the same goal. Survive, stay behind, and attract the attention of the Devil Emperor. Ba Xiao, who was in the air, had an unsightly expression on his face. He had no way to defeat his opponent, and Qin Wenyan was glaring at him like a tiger watching its prey. This was extremely disadvantageous to him. Also, the man before him actually grew more and more ferocious as the battle progressed. His battle intent seemed to grow stronger as the battle progressed. Qin Wenyan slowly soared up into the air. He who had the demon sword in his hand flew by the side, not interfering in Cheetah's battle. Cheetah was someone from the Battle Saint tribe. He needed battles to temper himself. He needed an endless stream of battles. The more he fought, the stronger the might of the Battle Saint bone would be. Ba Xiao will definitely be defeated. The spectators could all see the ending of this battle. The countenances of the experts from the Royal Devil sect were all extremely unsightly. Ba Xiao was a top 3 ranker on the Devil rankings, yet he actually lost so mysteriously to someone from another island. Rumble. At this moment, Ba Xiao, who no longer had the heart to continue fighting, took out his devil weapon. A terrifying devil hammer smashed down towards Cheetah, swish. Almost at the same time, Qin Wentian's demon sword slashed out. If Ba Xiao wanted to continue fighting, he wouldn't have interfered. But since Ba Xiao didn't want to fight anymore, let's end this then. Upon feeling the threat, Ba Xiao changed the direction of his devil hammer, smashing it towards Qin Wenyan. Bang! The demon sword transformed into a gigantic sword, colliding with the devil hammer. Another fearsome great rock appeared, letting out a long screech, wanting to devour the heavens and earth. Qin Wenyan slammed his palm onto the demon sword, only to see the demon sword directly rushing out, transforming back into a tiny sword and piercing towards Ba Xiao's throat. Ba Xiao roared in rage, lifting his palms to block the demon sword. However, Cheetah's attack landed, causing Ba Xiao's expression to turn extremely unsightly. For the sake of Lady Xnu, you can only die. Qin Wenyan calmly spoke, his words causing Ba Xiao to feel his entire body turning cold. This cold voice seemed to be announcing his death. Qin Wentian's silhouette pierced through the violent devil might, appearing before Ba Xiao. An ancient halberd of destruction appeared in his hands as he stabbed towards Ba Xiao, wanting to devour him. Cheetah was already barely able to fight alone, let alone Qin Wenyan, who was even stronger. Ba Xiao roared in anger, as though he was filled with reluctance. Being attacked from both front and back, there was basically no way for him to break through. He could only wait for death. The ancient halberd pierced into his throat, seizing his life in a single strike. Ba Xiao's throat trembled, his eyes stared fixedly at Qin Wenyan. He was actually killed. Because of jealousy in the Celestial Devil Lodge, he, Ba Xiao, died. Chapter 1268. Ba Xiao is dead. Outside the battlefield, many experts, including Devil Kings, were paying attention to this battle. When they saw Ba Xiao's death, their eyes gleamed with sharpness. Ba Xiao was a famous character on the Devil rankings. Usually he was tyrannical, powerful, and had a deep background. Very few people dared to antagonize him. As one of the top 3 rankers on the Devil rankings, Ba Xiao was one of the hottest contenders chosen by the Devil Emperor. Even if he was unlucky and couldn't win, he would still choose to flee. But clearly, nobody expected that he would actually die in this battlefield. Many people glanced in a certain direction, in the direction of an extremely esteemed seat. Over there, experts from the Royal Devil sect could be seen. When they saw Ba Xiao being killed, their countenances all turned extremely unsightly, turning ashen. Ba Xiao is truly unlucky. He encountered a ruthless character and was killed by the joint forces of 2 of them. Someone at the side spoke in a low voice. 2 of them joining forces? Despicable. Blackstone Devil King, are these your generals? The people from the Royal Devil sect all had ugly expressions on their faces. They originally didn't know of the Blackstone Devil King, but from the conversation earlier, they all heard it. It seems that Ba Xiao himself knew he couldn't win and took out his devil weapon. If not, Qin Wenyan wouldn't have any intentions of interfering at all. In truth, Ba Xiao couldn't even fight one-on-one. The Blackstone Devil King calmly spoke. Everyone. At this moment, the Demon Emperor suddenly spoke up. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone in the vast space could hear him clearly. Today's devil battle is a part of my birthday banquet. Everyone who entered is of their own free will. Before this, I've already made it clear that the people in here are all geniuses of my fallen devil region. However, it's inevitable that there would be casualties. I know that the casualties might be members of your clans or sects, or even your loved ones. But I still have to remind everyone that even if they enter the battlefield willingly and die in battle, you are not allowed to vent your anger on them. If such actions occur, don't blame me for being impolite. The Devil Emperor faintly spoke to everyone. In truth, his words were mainly to remind those Devil King powerhouses. With regards to this point, The Devil Emperor was extremely strict. It had been like this for all the previous generations. If they were to encounter revenge the moment they came out, who would dare to participate in this battle? In the past, there was once a tyrannical power on the fallen Devil Island seeking revenge. After the subordinates of the Devil Emperor learned of this, he directly uprooted that power, destroying it completely. The Devil Emperor was the supreme king of the fallen Devil region. No matter if you were a Devil King or a Devil Foundation expert, no matter if you were from a major clan or a minor clan, to the Devil Emperor, there was no difference if he was angered. The majesty of the Demon Emperor could not be doubted, nor could it be blasphemed. The expressions of the people from the Royal Devil sect sank. They knew that the Devil Emperor was reminding them that Ba Xiao was the first person to fall. Hence, the Devil Emperor's words carried a lot of weight. Ba Xiao's death could only be blamed on his bad luck. Although this guy keeps a low profile, he's still a thorn in his side. Everyone looked at Qin Wenyan, who was in the middle of the battlefield. Even someone like Ba Xiao had died at his hands. No matter how he had killed him, the level of danger he posed had undoubtedly risen in everyone's hearts. Xenyu stared at Qin Wenyan as her beautiful eyes flickered. She mused in her heart, Sir Qin killed Ba Xiao because of Xenyu? Ba Xiao was an expert from the Royal Devil sect and had threatened her before. By killing Ba Xiao, the threat she posed to him would naturally disappear. But by killing Ba Xiao, Qin Wenyan would undoubtedly offend the Royal Devil sect. However, Qin Wenyan didn't think too much about it. He only had a single goal, and that was to gain the favor of the Devil Emperor. If he couldn't achieve his goal, it would mean that he had failed. If that was the case, he would directly leave the fallen Devil Island. After killing Ba Xiao, Qin Wenyan nodded to Cheetah, "Let's continue on our way." "Right, leave the combat to me. I need a battle of this level." Cheetah spoke. At his level, it wasn't so easy to find a suitable opponent. And this battlefield undoubtedly provided him with the conditions. There were many people here who were extremely suitable to stimulate their potential. Qin Wenyan nodded. The two of them continued on their way, with Cheetah acting. If his opponent took out a powerful devil weapon, only then would Qin Wenyan act to kill him. Along the way, there was basically no one who could obstruct the two of them. And as time flowed by, the number of people on the battlefield also decreased rapidly. There were people who died, some were eliminated, and some returned to their seats with reluctance, becoming spectators. At the same time, more and more people attracted the attention of Devil Kings from the various major powers. There was actually a group of extremely powerful characters appearing in this batch of participants. Any one of them could be characters on the same level as Ba Xiao, extremely powerful. Some of the Devil Kings who came from the fallen Devil Island had expressions of arrogance on their faces. For these people, there were devil generals under them who followed them to the fallen Devil Island. They actually walked together? Why do I feel that they know each other? At this moment, someone noticed that there was an additional person beside Qin Wenyan and Cheetah. This person was an extremely powerful expert and was also a beautiful young lady with extraordinary strength. How can this be? A Devil King's eyes flashed with sharpness. This young lady was a devil general under him, and his island was extremely far away from the Blackstone Devil Island. By right, there shouldn't be any interactions between the generals under him and the Blackstone Devil King. Could it be love at first sight? That would be even more ridiculous. In such a situation as the powerful Wu Xiu, if such a thing happened, there must be something wrong with his head. The three of them gathered together. To the astonishment of the crowd, the one in charge of combat was still Cheetah. As for that beautiful young lady, Qin Wenyan was still the most relaxed one. This made everyone feel that the three of them were using Qin Wenyan as the core, saving energy for him. Cheetah and that young lady weren't weaker than Ba Xiao. With two such powerful characters using him as the core, was this Qin Wenyan really just a devil general under the Blackstone Devil King? Blackstone Devil King, who is that devil general under you exactly? A Devil King asked. Has he been growing up under your command? Evidently, everyone was suspicious. Could the Blackstone Devil King really nurture such a character? He is on my Blackstone Devil Island and has become a devil general under me. He is naturally my subordinate. As for what sort of person he was before, why would I care? The Blackstone Devil King calmly replied. In truth, he was also feeling more and more how extraordinary Qin Wenyan was. Qin Wenyan had always been concealing himself. Before this, he thought that it was already very impressive for him to be able to defeat Xian Ting. But from the looks of it, he was still holding back. In addition, Qin Wenyan came from the immortal realms. Thinking of this, the Blackstone Devil King could faintly sense that Qin Wentian's status in the immortal realms was truly extraordinary. What was his purpose for coming to the Myriad Devil Islands exactly? There was another person who was exceptionally eye-catching. It was none other than the expert who sat beside Qin Wenyan earlier. That person also once sat in the core position and had outstanding talent. At the start, he didn't attract much attention, but as the battles progressed, everyone discovered that he grew stronger and stronger. His opponents were strong, but he was stronger as well. There were several rankers on the devil rankings who fought against him, but they were all killed or eliminated by him. Only then did his name gradually become known to everyone. Time continued to pass, and the number of battles continued to decrease. Tens of thousands of demons danced about, and countless people fought in the same space. The scene was grand and majestic, but the rate of elimination was also extremely fast, and the number of people was reduced by several times. The crowd was also quietly appreciating each battle. The frequency of battles continued to decrease, but the strength of the two sides was clearly growing stronger. Many battles were very exciting. Those who were kicked out also knew that even if they didn't encounter powerful characters before, they wouldn't be able to obtain the Devil Emperor's favor. There were simply too many tyrannical characters among them. We can lure them to the burial gorge. The Devil Emperor spoke, his words causing the gazes of everyone to stiffen. After that, they discovered to their astonishment that the space around the battlefield was beginning to distort. No matter who it was, no matter which direction they chose, they would all end up in the same direction. Over there was a gigantic mountain range that would become the intersection point. The formation is changing. The Devil Emperor gave the order to control the formation, telling everyone to gather at the burial gorge. Everyone mused silently. Although the vast majority of experts were already eliminated, there were still over 1,000 experts in the battlefield. If they all gathered together, the situation would definitely be extremely terrifying. However, this was precisely what the Devil Emperor wanted to see. The experts on the battlefield all changed their direction. However, the distorted space made it so that no matter how they changed their direction, it was useless. They would still end up in the same direction. Unless they stayed at their original location and didn't move. As long as they moved, they would be closer to the burial gorge. Qin Wenyan, Qida and Nanfeng Ruoxuan moved together. Nanfeng Ruoxuan was naturally a holy maiden chosen by the Namhuang clan and had a cultivation base at the peak of Immortal Foundation. She didn't even enter the Sacred Academy and was in closed-door seclusion to break through to the Immortal King realm. She has already been at the peak of Immortal Foundation for several hundred years, and her current cultivation base was unfathomably deep. On the way, they met Xia Yuan. Xia Yuan glanced at the three of them as he frowned. Before this, Qin Wenyan was sitting in front of him and was unfathomably deep. The other two were extraordinary as well. It was impossible for him to deal with all of them alone. Are you acquainted with Huang Shatian? Xia Yuan stared at Qin Wenyan. Yes. Qin Wenyan calmly replied. Is there a grudge? Xia Yuan asked again. In that case, you guys will lose for sure this time around. After Xia Yuan spoke, he continued moving forward. Qin Wenyan frowned, only to see Qida asking, should we make him stay behind? Qin Wenyan shook his head lightly. He was pondering over Xia Yuan's words. What did he mean? Did Xia Yuan have enough confidence in Huang Shaishan's strength and felt that he wouldn't be able to defeat Huang Shatian? Or was there some other reason? Let's continue moving forward. Qin Wenyan spoke. The three of them continued forward, and gradually, they saw several devil cultivators heading in the same direction. Up ahead, there seemed to be a gorge, and in the various locations of the gorge, there were devil cultivators standing there proudly. There was a sandstorm in the gorge, as though it was a sign that a huge storm was about to descend. Chapter 1269. Huang Shatian. From afar, a sandstorm gusted as a figure slowly walked over. This person radiated a terrifying light, and behind him was a screen of light. Within the screen, countless sabers, swords, spears and halberds could be seen tearing through space. In an instant, the gazes of many turned to this person as a cold light flickered in their eyes. Your strength has increased by quite a bit. Why are you so confident now? What are you relying on exactly? Qin Wendian stared at Huang Shatian as he spoke. Boom! A thunderous sound rang out as that devil cultivator died. In this battlefield, I only have one opponent. At this moment, Huang Shatian swept his gaze over everyone as he spoke in a cold tone. His words caused the eyes of the crowd to flicker. He only had one opponent? How impudent! That devil cultivator coldly spoke when he saw the look in Huang Shaishan's eyes. Also, the powerful Huang Shatian had fought against this devil cultivator in the past, and both of them were heavily injured. Huang Shatian even admitted that he was defeated. In the canyon ahead, all the devil cultivators stood there. The sandstorm billowed, fluttering their long robes. Even before they arrived at the canyon, they could already sense the impending storm. In this battlefield, only he was number one. No one could stand against him. If Qin Wendian had Huang Shaishan's cultivation base, he would also be able to unleash his strength without hesitation. No one would dare to antagonize him. If he had Huang Shaishan's cultivation base, he was confident that he would be able to defeat Huang Shatian. However, he was only at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation and comprehended the might of an immortal king much later compared to Huang Shatian. Back then, during the intense battle in the Sacred Academy, he also used the power of his bloodline that he couldn't control and unleashed a destructive strike when Huang Shatian was careless. Only then was he able to heavily injure Huang Shatian. How arrogant! A voice abruptly rang out. An expert stared at Huang Shatian as he spoke. This person was also an extraordinary character, one of the rankers on the devil rankings of the Fallen Devil Island. He was confident in his own strength, and even if he fought against those in the core regions, he wouldn't be weak. Hence, when he saw how domineering Huang Shatian was, he coldly spoke. Therefore, it went without saying that no one on this battlefield could contend against Huang Shatian. Of course, Qin Wendian did not count himself among them. His body stood in his own spatial world. That was his law domain. The battlefield we are in was originally created by a formation. Since it's a formation, it would naturally be able to control it. Seems like all the devil cultivators in the battlefield were all brought here by the formation, engaging in a true war of devils. Qin Wendian was very familiar with formations. He could guess the reason with a single glance. Huang Shaishan's gaze was too outstanding. Just a single glance from him was enough to make you feel his arrogance. This sort of lofty arrogance was like he was a dragon soaring in the skies while you were merely crawling on the ground. The battle of the strongest naturally has to be left for the last. If the battle of the weaklings is left for later, what's there to appreciate? Huang Shatian spoke as though it was a matter of course. Such arrogance was like disregarding everything. His battle would be the battle of the strongest. If he fought, there was no need to watch the battles of the others. The only opponent that the powerful Huang Shatian was referring to was actually this person. Back then, this person was also sitting in the core region, beside him. In the burial gorge, only now did everyone understand. For those who could sit in the core region, how could it be luck? They were all people with extraordinary capabilities. Why don't you fight yourself? At this moment, a voice rang out from the void. No one knew where this voice originated from, but clearly, there was some sort of unique concealment technique. I've never seen someone as arrogant as you before. Devil might gushed forth from that devil cultivator, incomparably tyrannical. He stepped out, rushing towards Huang Shatian. With a roar of rage, the terrifying shadow of a gigantic devil ox appeared. With an explosive roar, he drove the devil ox war chariot forward, slaughtering everything in its path. Tens of thousands of devil ox chariots galloped forth, crushing everything before them. Several cold gazes stared in the direction of Qin Wenyin. These were all people sent here by the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor. There were over 100 experts from the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's faction, as well as other powerful characters who came here with them. In any case, all of them were enemies, and these enemies all wanted to take Qin Wentian's life. Old Chai and Xia Yuan both arrived. They were known as the two strongest characters on the devil rankings, but right now, they were quietly standing there. This was especially so for Old Chai. He stood in a corner, appearing extremely inconspicuous. In such a place where so many devils gathered, no matter how strong an individual was, once they were surrounded, they would definitely end up in a miserable state. Huang Shutian slowly turned his gaze over. The azure dragon in the air didn't need to care about the thoughts of ants. He also couldn't be bothered with the anger of others. His gaze turned to Qin Wenyin as he spoke. In the battle back then, although you and I were both heavily injured, if you didn't die, it would be my defeat. After that, there were people who urged me to kill you, but I didn't do so. Unless I have absolute strength to kill you, I wouldn't want you to act again. Now, I feel that the time has come. In a place where so many devils gathered, there was actually someone who dared to be so brazen. He crossed his arms before his chest and slowly walked forward, arriving at the center of the canyon. His gaze pierced through space, staring at a direction far away. Over there, Qin Wentian's figure could be seen. Seems like this should be the case. Nanfeng Ruoxuan nodded lightly. The three of them continued on their way. They stood on the yellow soil above the canyon and stared at the experts in the surroundings. Although devil cultivators were gathered here, the battle had yet to erupt. The spectators in the outside world were all moved. The Blackstone Devil King had a look of worry on his face, while the old Xia Devil King had a smile on his face. No matter what, that devil cultivator was a powerful existence on the devil rankings. Yet in front of this man, he couldn't even withstand a single strike. How terrifying was Qin Wentian's full combat prowess. Huang Shan spoke in arrogance, "If I act, you can only die." Evidently, because of the gathering of devil cultivators, everyone had trepidation and didn't dare to act recklessly. "Ants, you are courting death." Huang Shaishan's eyes were as arrogant as ever. After that, countless divine weapons were all aimed at that devil cultivator, exploding forth with killing intent. That devil cultivator's countenance drastically changed. He wanted to take out his devil weapon, but the speed of the divine weapons was simply too fast. He had already entered the domain of Huang Shaishan's law domain. In that case, only death awaited him. Huang Shatian. Qin Wenyin stared at the person who just arrived. Although they were very far apart, he could still feel the pressure radiating from Huang Shatian. Huang Shan was unexcelled in the world, as though he was the ruler of this world, a lonely king. Nanfeng Ruoxuan stared at the scene ahead as she frowned. Why are there so many devil cultivators? Old Chai or Xia Yuan? Huang Shatian stared at that devil cultivator. At this moment, that devil cultivator discovered that no matter what he did, he couldn't get near Huang Shatian. His attacks actually couldn't break through Huang Shaishan's spatial law domain. Huang Shaishan's hands that were crossed in front of his chest were placed back down, but he didn't lift them up. The light behind him grew even more resplendent as spatial energy gushed forth frenziedly, as though wanting to replace this true world of space. "Scram the fuck out yourself." Huang Shatian spoke. His voice was cold, yet it was extremely tyrannical. "What should I do?" She'd asked. "How powerful?" The eyes of the crowd froze as they stared at Huang Shan. Such strength was truly terrifying. The eyes of everyone gleamed with sharpness as they stared at Qin Wenyin. "Kill!" That devil cultivator roared in rage. Similarly, a powerful law might gushed forth from him as he drove the devil ox war chariot towards Huang Shatian. However, at this instant, boundless spatial light enveloped him as the two law domains clashed against each other. "Don't move." Qin Wenyin calmly spoke. With so many devil cultivators gathered here, a single strand of hair could affect the entire body. Arrogant people had loftiness in their bones. They could stare straight at their own failures, not minding others knowing about it. This was true arrogance. They didn't need to care about what others thought, they only cared about their own goals. Huang Shatian glanced at him. Huang Shatian still stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His well-defined face exuded the arrogance of a king, like he was looking down at an ant. Just a single glance from him was sufficient to cause that devil cultivator to feel a sense of humiliation. Qin Wenyan didn't doubt Huang Shaishan's strength. Back then when the Sacred Academy opened, all the outstanding geniuses of the immortal realms came to the Sacred Academy. However, Huang Shan was someone who could stand at the peak. Only a few people could stand at the same level as him. Qin Wenyan's eyes flashed. After Huang Shatian stepped past that gate, he had already walked very far and grew increasingly stronger. In addition, it seemed that Huang Shatian had cultivated a brand new and terrifying innate technique. Sure. Qin Wenyan nodded in agreement. Huang Xian closed his eyes, ignoring everything in the outside world. So, you guys better not waste any more time. The battle is about to start. Waiting here would only be a waste of time. Huang Shatian spoke again. The eyes of everyone flashed. This fellow was truly arrogant enough. But the strength he displayed earlier made everyone speechless. The battle today wouldn't be easy. This was also the reason why Qin Wenyan kept a low profile and did his best to conserve his strength. Because he was very clear of what sort of character his opponent was. You will naturally know. I just hope that you won't disappoint me. Huang Shatian spoke. I won't go and kill your people. This is a battle between us. Let the two of us settle it. What do you think? In the next instant, from the spatial light screen behind Huang Shatian, countless divine weapons erupted forth, akin to 10,000 arrows shooting out in unison, shattering everything. Those demonic bulls that rushed over were instantly pierced through. They were bound by the distorted space. They had no way to escape. Who do you think you are? That devil cultivator coldly spoke. Cold intent gushed forth from many devil cultivators. Daring to be so arrogant in front of so many devils, other than him, there was no one else who would dare to be so brazen. This meant that even in the entire immortal realms, Huang Shatian was a heaven's chosen who stood at the very peak. Although all the geniuses of the fallen devil region were gathered here, how could a single devil region be compared to the entire immortal realms? Let alone the fact that Huang Shaishan's cultivation base had already reached the peak of immortal foundation and he had already taken that final step back when he was in the Sacred Academy. Naturally, other than the devil cultivators, there were also those on Qin Wenyan's side. However, all of them quietly stood at their original locations, as though they didn't know each other at all. Chapter 1270. Tyrannical, arrogant, and domineering. This was the impression Huang Shatian gave to everyone. His tyranny was because a powerful devil cultivator on the devil rankings questioned him and was killed by him on the spot. His arrogance was because he had a domineering attitude of disdain towards the masses. In this place, he only had a single opponent, Qin Wenyan. As for the other devil cultivators, they didn't even have the qualifications to be his opponent. He closed his eyes, ignoring the experts in this place. No matter how you guys fight, it has nothing to do with him. He only needed to fight the final battle. There was no need to doubt that the strongest king would only fight the final battle. This was the pride of a king. Many people then turned their gazes to Qin Wenyan. This was the character that Huang Shatian treated as his only opponent. What sort of strength did he have? Xia Yuan's eyes gleamed with sharpness. He cast a deep glance at Huang Shatian. In his eyes, the geniuses of the fallen devil region weren't worth a mention at all. Was his opponent only Qin Wenyan? What sort of character was Qin Wenyan? Old Chai also stared at the two of them. He had exchanged blows with Qin Wenyan before and naturally understood that Qin Wenyan wasn't someone to be trifled with. But now, he discovered that Huang Shatian wasn't someone to be trifled with. If he wanted to enter the top 3, these two would undoubtedly be his greatest obstructions. Since he is so arrogant, let's join forces and kill him. That masked voice rang out again. Nobody knew who it was that spoke, but there was an inciting force to it. Many devil cultivators stared at Huang Shatian. If they could kill him, it would undoubtedly be a good choice. Many of them were tempted. Who wants to join me? At this moment, a powerful devil cultivator standing in a certain direction spoke. He had a gigantic blood-colored axe on his shoulder as he stared at Huang Sheng. I've never seen such an arrogant person before. Since he wants to die early, let's grant him his wish. A sinister voice rang out as another person joined in. With two people taking the lead, violent auras gushed forth. They stepped out, moving towards the direction of Huang Shatian. Not only that, along the way, there were more than 10 devil cultivators joining in. They wanted to make sure that Huang Shatian wouldn't have the last chance to kill him. A bunch of ants, are you all courting death? Huang Shaishan's eyes were still closed, yet he spoke in an unmasked voice filled with disdain. This voice infuriated them even more as the auras of these devil cultivators surged forth. Since you want to be the most dazzling, you have to be able to withstand the strongest attacks. A devil cultivator coldly spoke, only to see Xia Yuan, who had been standing there, suddenly moving. His body moved with lightning speed, and after that, everyone discovered to their shock that the most outstanding character on the devil rankings, Xia Yuan, was actually standing not far away from Huang Shatian. It wasn't because he wanted to deal with Huang Shatian, but rather, it was as though he was protecting Huang Shatian. An expert like Xia Yuan was actually protecting Huang Shatian. Xia Yuan, you are abandoning yourself. A devil cultivator roared with killing intent. A bunch of ants, courting death. Huang Shatian opened his eyes. When the devil cultivators rushed towards him, he instantly unleashed his spatial law domain. In an instant, this entire space transformed into his law domain. Before absolute strength, what's the use of numbers? Huang Shatian roared. Behind him, boundless killing intent shot towards one of the devil cultivators, bringing with it a destructive might. That person screamed in agony as he directly died. Xia Yuan glanced over there as his heart trembled. Seems like Huang Shatian was already so powerful that he didn't even need to interfere. Even if he was surrounded, Huang Shatian could still ignore everything. Bzz. A devil cultivator took out a powerful devil weapon. The other devil cultivators all acted as well. However, Huang Shatian coldly laughed. Using divine weapons? These people from the fallen devil region, the experts participating in this battle, the divine weapons they used, could they compare to Huang Shatian, the most outstanding genius of the younger generation of the 9 emperors' immortal state? Courting death. Huang Shatian coldly spoke, after which, the light screen behind him shone with an even more resplendent light. A majestic emperor aura gushed forth, unexcelled in the world. Countless divine weapons shot out, resembling beams of light. Piercing sounds rang out unceasingly as the beams of light directly penetrated through the bodies of those devil cultivators. The devil cultivators all died one after another, falling from the air. The devil weapons in their hands didn't even have a chance to be activated. The crowd was speechless. How could they kill these devil cultivators? It was still fine if they didn't take out their devil weapons. Once they took out their devil weapons, under the might of their opponent's divine weapons, they would definitely be crushed. Divine weapons and innate techniques complement each other? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Huang Shaishan's divine weapons were exactly the same as the innate techniques he was using now. Seems like this was a divine weapon specially created by the 9 emperors' immortal state for Huang Xian. The might of that divine weapon was only released for an instant, but it was already so powerful that it caused people's hearts to tremble. Qin Wenyan was thinking that if he wanted to face Huang Shaishan's divine weapon head-on, only that treasure would be able to do so. This Huang Shatian truly had no fear at all. In such a situation, if he took out such a powerful treasure, it would easily attract the greed of others. Most probably, many devil kings outside would feel their hearts pounding with excitement. At the same time when Qin Wenyan was spectating the battle, he discovered that those who weren't devil cultivators were also rushing towards him. These devil cultivators all had cold expressions on their faces, filled with killing intent. Seems like it's not a good thing to be too conspicuous. Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. Evidently, a single sentence from Huang Shatian had attracted a storm for him. There was a limit to the number of slots that the devil emperor would appoint. In that case, they could only join forces to kill those who might occupy the slots. Before this, when those devil cultivators killed Huang Shutian, they did so. Now, they were preparing to kill Qin Wendian as well. Qin Wendian frowned. He kept a low profile and avoided battles because he didn't want to exhaust too much energy in large-scale battles. His cultivation base wasn't like Huang Shutian, who was already at the peak of Immortal Foundation. It was naturally easier for him to kill those at the same level as him. However, even if there were people who wanted to provoke him, he could only kill them until they felt fear. "Leave it to us." Nanfeng Ruoxuan spoke. Qida nodded and walked out. At the same time, in other directions, other experts also walked out. For example, GD's followers, Mo Zian, as well as the person who sat beside Qin Wendian earlier. This person was named Duan Qianshan. He was a disciple sent by the Heavenly Talisman Realm to accompany Qin Wendian to the Myriad Devil Islands. Before this person had never appeared in the Tiandao Sacred Academy before, but Qin Wendian didn't doubt his cultivation base at all. This time around, the 100 people who entered the Myriad Devil Islands were all at the peak level of Immortal Foundation and were selected by the major powers. Each power sent out many people, and all of them had already taken that step. Before this, Qin Wendian didn't know who Duan Qianshan was. But the Heavenly Talisman Realm was extremely mysterious and had many disciples. It wasn't strange for there to be people who were in closed-door seclusion trying to break through to the Immortal King Realm. Emichim? The eyes of everyone flashed. These experts who walked out actually surrounded those who went to deal with Qin Wendian. Although their numbers were few, their auras were extremely imposing. "Kill!" Qin Wendian coldly spoke. Sword hums rang out as he gripped the demon sword in his hand. A sharp sword intent gushed forth, ravaging everything in its path. He stood at his original location unmoving, but the demon sword could be unleashed at any moment. "Kill!" Devil might gushed forth from those devil cultivators. With a lift of their hands, they unleashed tyrannical devil attacks. Qida stood before Qin Wendian and with a thunderous roar, his body expanded in size. The divine battle ape appeared, blocking in front of Qida, withstanding the boundless might of the attacks. At the same time, Nanfeng Ruoxuan waved her finger. Instantly, a terrifying phoenix silhouette enveloped this entire space as phoenix flames descended, wanting to incinerate everything. Mo Zian blasted out with the immortal slaying diagram, shooting towards the crowd. Duan Qianshan's body abruptly transformed into many shadows that directly rushed into the crowd of devil cultivators. After which, he slashed out with his sword, and in an instant, a myriad of sword lights slashed out. Those devil cultivators snorted coldly and unleashed their tyrannical attacks. However, their attacks were all blasted away. In just an instant, the gazes of countless experts froze. Danger! The other devil cultivators all stared at the afterimages. Duan Qianshan's shadows actually had the ability to attack. In fact, their attacks were extremely powerful. The attribute of a clone. Seems like this man has condensed a miraculous astral soul and cultivated an avatar technique, causing his shadows to be filled with offensive power. It's impossible to defend against him. Everyone stared at Duan Qianshan. The law energy radiating from him was extremely terrifying. Numerous shadows surrounded a devil cultivator, instantly turning the situation around. "I will delay them. You guys kill them." Duan Qianshan spoke. Nanfeng Ruoxuan, Qida and the others instantly understood Duan Qianshan's intentions. Qin Wendian could sense the strength of these people. The light from the demon sword in his hand gradually dimmed. The experts sent out by the various major powers were all here to aid in the adjudication battle. They were all elites, and even if they were surrounded by devil cultivators, he didn't need to do anything. He only needed to focus on his battle against Huang Shutian. "Let the battle begin." A cold voice rang out. There were experts who launched attacks at those around them. There was no meaning in continuing to wait. "It's the people from Huang Shutian's faction." Qin Wendian glanced at the person who started the battle. Seems like the people from Huang Shutian's faction wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. Since there were devil cultivators fighting, A slight change in one part would affect the rest. More and more battles erupted in different locations. Even Xia Yuan had made his move. It was time to sweep away the weak. Old Chai wielded a hatchet and stepped into the battlefield. He instantly rushed towards an enemy and slashed out with his hatchet, killing his opponent with a single slash. After that, he immediately changed the battlefield. Very swiftly, a chaotic battle broke out. This was destined to be a battlefield where the strong harvested the weak. The death rate was extremely high. As the battle erupted, the illusory light screen behind Huang Shatian actually retracted. He stood there with his hands behind his back, quietly watching the battle as though it had nothing to do with him. He knew that the battle that belonged to him was about to arrive. Qin Wentian's gaze pierced through the crowd, landing on Huang Shatian. Their gazes intersected as their battle-intent soared. However, both of them had a tacit understanding and didn't make a move. They were waiting for an opportunity to fight. Old Xia, the person you regard highly seems to treat that young man as his only opponent. The Devil Emperor spoke to the old Xia Devil King. The victor will definitely be Huang Shatian. The old Xia Devil King quietly spoke. You are still so confident in him. In that case, I will watch carefully. The Devil Emperor laughed. The people in the surroundings all had gleams of sharpness on their faces. They felt a sense of absurdity in their hearts. It was like the battle between the devils on the battlefield was only to serve as a foil for the final battle between the two of them. Chapter 1271. The Blackstone Devil King who was at the back furrowed his brows even more tightly. The battle hasn't even started and the old Xia Devil King was already supporting Huang Shatian. To Qin Wentian, this wasn't a good thing. The old Xia Devil King was someone who could influence the decision of the Devil Emperor. Seems like old Chai really wanted to gain the favor of the Devil Emperor and was willing to stake everything on this. Most probably, he had been stuck at this realm for far too long and could feel the danger of death closing in on him. He needed the favor of the Devil Emperor. Even if it was just a reputation, it would be able to protect his life. If he could break through this realm, it would undoubtedly be the most important thing to old Chai. Yes. The old Xia Devil King nodded. The Devil Emperor smiled but didn't say anything. Huang Shatian and Qin Wentian had a grudge, but no one could tell at this moment. There was no way for them to be compatible. This old friend of his valued Huang Shatian more, he would naturally reject Qin Wentian. The two of them got closer step by step. The auras from Huang Shatian and Qin Wentian gushed towards each other as law energy circulated around them. I feel that Qin Wentian might have a chance. The Devil Emperor laughed as he continued staring at the battlefield. The old Xia Devil King also knew that the Devil Emperor understood his thoughts. However, he didn't mind. Given the relationship between them, there was no need for him to care about such things. Vicious and merciless. Other than his talent being a little lacking, he can be considered perfect in all other aspects. This is an extremely perfect devil cultivator. If he breaks through to the Devil King realm, he would be even more dangerous. You can recruit him for your own use. The old Xia Devil King spoke. At almost the same instant, Huang Shatian, who was sitting there, abruptly opened his eyes. His gaze was incomparably sharp, piercing through space as he stared at Qin Wentian. Do you want to fight? His body was his law domain. Can't you give me a chance to fight him? Old Chai asked. Defeat me first. Duan Qianshan calmly spoke. The Devil Emperor naturally knew what old Chai was thinking. Both of them were old monsters of the cultivation world. How could they not understand? The number of people on the battlefield was decreasing rapidly. In the burial gorge, the battle that erupted caused the wind and clouds to howl. Demonic might enveloped the entire space. Flesh and blood flew everywhere as experts fell. Is this the killing light screen? Qin Wentian could already feel the pressure coming from it. Huang Shan stood proudly and said, Fight! Scram! Huang Shatian roared. Instantly, countless beams of light shot out in all directions, opening up a path. In an instant, the devil cultivators had no choice but to retreat and give up the battlefield. This scene caused the spectators outside to tremble in fear. Not to mention the two of them fighting directly, even the battlefield where Huang Shatian and Qin Wenyan were fighting, no one was allowed to approach. How tyrannical was this? Let's fight, Qin Wenyan said lightly. Be careful, old Chai is in danger. Qin Wenyan transmitted his voice to Duan Qianshan. This word, kill, seemed to have drawn the curtains to the battle. In just an instant, tens of thousands of divine weapons instantly appeared before Qin Wenyan. This strike was earth-shattering, causing everyone in the surroundings to break out in cold sweat. Sure. Old Chai laughed. His hatchet cleaved down as black lightning appeared. Old Xia Devil King laughed. This emoji was truly good at reading people's expressions and knew what to say. Many experts rushed over in the direction of Qin Wenyan. These were people from the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor's side. Seems like they all wanted to end this chaotic battle. Even if an immortal king who just entered the immortal king realm not long ago stood before him, Huang Shatian would still kill that immortal king if he could use a supreme treasure. Boom! A supreme demonic might gushed forth. Qin Wenyan's body transformed into a body of laws as a terrifying demon god manifested around him. He was none other than a supreme demon king. Hence, this was why he was so confident. The screen of light behind Huang Shatian flashed. Resplendent light gushed forth once more as 9-colored emperor light interweaved together, exuding supreme might. Just like that day, release the power of your bloodline. If not, you won't stand a chance at all. Huang Shatian calmly spoke. Back then, the reason why Qin Wenyan could fight against him who was at the peak of immortal foundation to such an extent was because of that bloodline's secret art, forcibly raising his cultivation base to a terrifying level. The tens of thousands of divine weapons blasted over, yet it was as though they slammed into the strongest defense. The thunderous boom caused the eardrums of everyone to tremble, yet they had no way to break through Qin Wenyan's body. However, they were clearly too intelligent, avoiding to such an extent. This could only mean that they might as well not enter the battlefield because it was meaningless. For those who didn't even participate in the final battle, it was impossible for them to enter the eyes of the Devil Emperor. I know you have cultivated an ultimate art. But this time around, I have also cultivated an ultimate art. You will lose for sure. Huang Shaishan's sharp eyes stared at Qin Wenyan, filled with absolute confidence. This old Chai is too ruthless. The spectators silently mused. The number of people who died because of old Chai was definitely the highest. This fellow was too dangerous. He could kill a devil cultivator just by acting ruthlessly when others were fighting. As the sound of his voice faded, the light screen of laws enveloped this entire space. Qin Wenyan also felt himself being trapped within Huang Shaishan's law domain. In an instant, Qin Wenyan felt as though he had sunk into a quagmire. The distorted space around him made it so that he couldn't move accurately. Some of the smarter ones chose to avoid the battle, hiding in a certain location. Hence, they didn't head to the burial canyon to participate in this battle. If he, old Chai, wanted to seize the attention of the Devil Emperor, he had to fight against Qin Wenyan first. If he defeated him, all the glory of Qin Wenyan would belong to him, old Chai. More and more powerful devil cultivators died in the burial canyon. There were also some who sighed that they didn't have a chance and directly left the battlefield. They returned to the banquet hall and quietly stared at the battlefield with many emotions in their hearts. Boom! A violent current gushed forth ferociously from Qin Wenyan. That terrifying demonic chi swept over, causing some devil cultivators to feel their hearts trembling. They turned their heads and glanced in the direction of Qin Wenyan as their countenances drastically changed. Could it be that this fellow's true form was a terrifying greater demon? How could his demonic chi be so terrifying? Numerous sharp divine weapons were aimed at him. Qin Wenyan frowned. The current Huang Shatian was truly much stronger compared to the past. In this battlefield, how many devil cultivators would be able to contend against him? Old Chai was still unwilling to give up. He lifted his devil saber and walked towards Qin Wenyan as an aged smile appeared on his face. Qin Wenyan closed his eyes as the blood in his body churned. Abruptly, beams of blood-colored light gushed forth from every part of his body. At this moment, Qin Wentian's aura towered up into the sky as a terrifying demonic light radiated from him. His eyes turned extremely demonic, gleaming with a blood-colored light. His long robes and black hair fluttered in the wind as a terrifying demonic phantom manifested behind him. At this moment, Qin Wenyan was like a descendant of a demonic god. Boom! Only to see Qin Wenyan stepping out as terrifying demonic qi transformed into corporeal light that swept out. The experts in the surroundings all parted for him, as though he wanted to forcefully open up a new battlefield. Qin Wentian's aura erupted forth as his fiend-god-like body radiated boundless light. The him at this moment was unexcelled in the world. Seems like your evaluation of him is very high and he is also very intelligent, choosing to avoid the battle. But why did you have so many complaints about that young man named Qin Wenyan earlier? The Devil Emperor asked again. He is different from Old Chai. Old Chai is too old, it's already very rare for him to be able to show such courage. But he is so young, he should have the tyrannical air of a young devil cultivator. His style is different. In that case, if you were to choose the three of them, would you choose Old Chai and not Qin Wenyan? The Devil Emperor asked. In the battlefield of the Fallen Devil region, how could there be anyone who could stand against him? Hence, he dared to say that in this battlefield, he would only have a single opponent. The others didn't even have the qualifications to be his opponent. Ruthless and ruthless. Would Old Chai be able to gain the favor of the Devil Emperor this time around? Someone mused. This wasn't the first time Old Chai participated in the birthday banquet of the Devil Emperor. He was simply too old and had already reached this realm many years ago. However, Huang Shaishan's expression was calm and indifferent. He knew that this was just the start of the battle. If Qin Wenyan was so easily killed by him, he wouldn't be qualified to be his only opponent. Although Qin Wenyan has already stepped into the 7th level of Immortal Foundation, if he didn't borrow the power of that bloodline's secret art, it was still far from enough. MOG, who do you think will be the victor of this battle? The Devil Emperor asked MOG, who was in his embrace. Huang Shan quietly stood there as he spoke, kill. Ever since he exited the Sacred Academy, although Huang Yudi died and he didn't manage to kill Qin Wenyan, the 9 Emperors' immortal empire didn't blame him. In fact, they even bestowed upon him a supreme inheritance treasure of their empire. This supreme treasure was something from ancient times and was the treasure used to establish the 9 Emperors' immortal empire back then. It contained a supreme emperor cannon and was able to fuse the power of the 9 great emperors' immortal cannon together, allowing the innate techniques and treasures to fuse as one, perfectly complementing him. After a terrifying transformation, he finally obtained this inheritance treasure. However, Duan Qianshan suddenly appeared before Old Chai. He wielded a sword of azure light as he quietly stood there. Devil cultivators should be like this. He's even more ruthless than before, killing people like this would easily offend some major powers. But this time around, Old Chai seems to be throwing caution to the wind, wanting to attract the attention of the Devil Emperor. A Devil King expert spoke in a low voice. Duan Qianshan's silhouette flickered as he instantly transformed into many afterimages, moving in different directions, surrounding Old Chai. Everyone could see Huang Shaishan's strength, but he only treated Qin Wenyan as his opponent. Even though Qin Wenyan didn't have a glorious battle record, as long as he was dazzling enough in his battle against Huang Shatian, he would be able to snatch away the glory of others. Even if he lost, he would still attract the most attention. What do you think of Old Chai? The Devil Emperor asked Old Xia. I have no idea. But from the looks of it, the young man that Senior Xia regards highly should have a higher chance of winning. MOG smiled, her body was boneless, extremely charming. If it wasn't for the fallen Devil Emperor, ordinary Devil Kings wouldn't even be able to withstand her Mercury Lady Devil art. Qin Wenyan glanced at Old Chai. Seems like Old Chai wasn't willing to let him and Huang Shatian steal all the limelight and wanted to give it a try. Chapter 1272. His defense is so powerful. The spectators felt their hearts trembling. The divine weapons in Huang Shaishan's light screen could easily kill powerful devil cultivators, Yet when they landed on Qin Wenyan, they couldn't even break through his defense. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying the law energy around Qin Wenyan was. Interesting indeed. The fallen devil emperor spoke in a low voice. Since Huang Shatian could treat Qin Wenyan as his greatest enemy and there were so many outstanding characters protecting him, how could this young man who chose to avoid battles before be so simple? After the power of his bloodline erupted forth, he already had the strength to contend against Huang Shatian. Only such a battle would be interesting. The two of them opened up a battlefield nobody dared to approach. That battle seemed to have become the only thing in this entire battlefield. The spectators outside the battlefield were all extremely nervous. This bastard, he lied to me. The devilish female stared at Qin Wenyan. So it turned out that this fellow was so powerful, able to become the center of attention even during the birthday banquet. If she knew this earlier, she would have pushed him down earlier. Huang Shatian didn't feel surprised by the strength of Qin Wenyan's defense. His eyes gleamed with a divine light, yet he was exceptionally calm, as though this was how things should be. I truly want to see how strong your defense is exactly. Huang Shatian coldly spoke. With a wave of his hand, the light screen behind him erupted with an even more intense divine light. Countless divine weapons appeared from within. The light screen was like a bottomless pit. It was like his Emperor Immortal Light had undergone a sublimation. The attacks of the human Emperor Immortal Light were filled with boundless killing intent. Right now, each and every beam of light seemed to have transformed into an invincible divine weapon that underwent a perfect transformation. Even if you are a god, you will be buried here today. Huang Shatian coldly spoke. At this moment, the heavens and earth changed color, only light remained. Each and every divine weapon was like a beam of light, exuding a majestic emperor's might. Qin Wenyan raised his defense to the extreme. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out as his body was forced back unceasingly. Boundless attacks rained down on him. Water droplets could penetrate stone, and when the number of attacks was large enough, it could form a terrifying storm, let alone the attacks of these divine weapons. This was like an endless barrage of attacks. As long as Qin Wenyan didn't die, the attacks wouldn't be extinguished. Huang Shatian claimed that he had obtained some sort of inheritance from the 9 emperors' immortal state. This inheritance was clearly so powerful that it could be comparable to a true ultimate art. Qin Wenyan was forced back unceasingly. The terrifying tremors caused him to groan in pain. Even the demon god protection started to show signs of cracks. Huang Shatian's attacks were truly tyrannical enough. From his body, a supreme light suddenly erupted forth. The terrifying shadow of the divine turtle expanded outwards, temporarily blocking the violent attacks. At the same time, Qin Wenyan stretched out his palms as boundless energy gushed forth from his palms. A gigantic palm imprint containing world-destroying might blasted out. Only to see that gigantic palm imprint opening up a path, forcefully cleaving apart the countless divine weapons as it shot towards Huang Shatian, akin to a divine imprint of destruction. An ultimate art? Huang Shatian's countenance turned sharp. Given Qin Wenyan's current cultivation base, in addition to the fact that he comprehended immortal king might as well as unleashing an ultimate art, Qin Wenyan's strength has already reached a terrifying level. Qin Wenyan could directly threaten him. World of nothingness. Huang Shatian seemed to have comprehended the laws of nothingness. Layers of spatial light flashed as the destructive god's hands slammed into Huang Shun. Ultimately, it actually passed through Huang Shatian's body and entered the void behind him, vanishing from sight. What a terrifying fellow! The spectators all felt their hearts trembling. Huang Shatian's attacks were boundless, killing gods and devils alike. Yet, his opponent's attack was actually able to drive it into nothingness. Such an opponent was simply too terrifying. Many devil cultivators thought that Qin Wenyan, who was facing Huang Shatian, was them. If they stood in Huang Shatian's position, only death would await them. Where's your strongest unique skill? Huang Shatian spoke to Qin Wenyan. He naturally wouldn't forget the attack that heavily injured him back then. That attack was infused with Qin Wenyan's strongest attack. It hasn't reached that stage yet. Qin Wendian spoke. His body abruptly expanded in size, resembling a demonic god. A fearsome ancient halberd appeared in his hands, and with a stomp of his foot, a thunderous boom rang out, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. Qin Wendian was preparing to clash head-on with Qin Wentian's attacks. Because he was a huge target, it was very difficult to evade Qin Wentian's attacks. He could only clash head-on. The ancient halberd in Qin Wentian's hands seemed to contain a terrifying demon. Numerous dark-colored great rocks revolved around the ancient halberd, as well as the shadows of demonic dragons. That halberd was terrifying to the extreme. Qin Wentian's palms were similarly terrifying. The energy of God's hand flowed within them. Boom! Yifutian took a step forward and then raised his hand to attack. As the halberd descended, the most perfect attack appeared. The halberd moved forward with an indomitable will. It was like an attack that could shock the world. An earth-shattering roar of a great demon erupted from within, shattering the souls of those who heard it. Behind Huang Shatian, shadows of Renhuangs appeared. 9 supreme Renhuangs stood proudly in the illusory light screen. It was as though they had merged into it and become a part of it. At this moment, the 9 Renhuangs attacked at the same time. They brought with them different powers, but they attacked the same point. The terrifying power of destruction struck the ancient halberd. The void seemed to be on the verge of exploding as a terrifying storm swept out. At the same time that the two attacks collided, Huang Shatian stepped forward. Countless divine weapons spewed out from the illusory light screen, shattering the ancient halberd. Huang Shatian walked towards Qin Wentian's body. Just like in the battle at the Sacred Academy, he approached Qin Wendian. After Qin Wentian's bloodline erupted, his body of rules was also extremely terrifying. His defense was astonishing. If one wanted to destroy him, they would need to compete with him in the power of rules, get close to him, and crush him. At this moment, the crowd was shocked to discover that the golden light screen of the void that had gathered the rules of space filled the entire void. The 9 Renhuangs descended in different directions. Behind each Renhuang, a terrifying light screen of destruction appeared, all aimed at Qin Wentian's huge body. It was as though they wanted to completely strangle Qin Wendian in this space. Huang Shatian was right in front of them. In the past, I was destroyed here. Today, I want to try again. Huang Shatian spoke arrogantly. Once, because he got close to Qin Wendian, he suffered a destructive blow when he was about to attack Qin Wendian, causing him to be unable to kill Qin Wendian. This time, he did the same just like in the past. Qin Wentian's huge body, terrifying power, suppression, destruction, and other rules flowed about, supporting the pressure from the surrounding space. If he hadn't taken that step into the immortal king realm, he wouldn't have been able to fight against Huang Shatian today. Kill! Huang Shatian spoke again. The 9 Renhuangs unleashed destructive attacks from different directions. Qin Wendian seemed to have transformed into a devil foundation. His perfect immortal foundation shone with a dazzling light as layers of screens of light appeared around him. The ancient characters on the screens expanded outwards in all directions, defending against the frenzied killing intent. Countless ancient characters cascaded downwards from the sky. Qin Wendian, who was akin to a demonic god, lifted his palm once more and blasted it out towards Huang Shatian. A single strike from him was sufficient to shatter the heavens and earth. Huang Shan lifted a golden spear that exuded a supreme sharpness as it pierced through the air. With a thunderous boom, the spear directly pierced through the terrifying palm imprint, causing spatial cracks to appear. The spear and the palm imprint both exploded into pieces. How violent! The hearts of the crowd trembled. Such a confrontation, just a single strike already gave people a feeling of supreme strength. This was what a true battle was. The other devil battles, when set off by this battle, seemed somewhat dim. Qin Wendian, who was like a demonic god, blasted out with both his palms, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Palm imprints blasted out one after another as countless ancient characters descended from the sky, as though he wouldn't rest until he killed Huang Shatian. However, Huang Shatian's surroundings were like a forbidden ground. Any attacks that landed on him would only be destroyed. With a casual lift of his hand, an incomparably sharp sword could be seen, piercing through the palm imprints in the air. With a wave of his hand, an indomitable spear could be seen, piercing through Qin Wentian's attacks. How powerful! The spectators felt their hearts trembling. When the combat prowess of the two of them erupted forth, Old Chai and Xia Yuan both felt somewhat dim. Such a level of combat prowess should already be infinitely close to the immortal king realm, right? Where did these two fellows pop out from? The fallen devil emperor spoke in a low voice. Huang Shaishan's body of laws is even more terrifying, and his comprehension is deeper. As for Qin Wendian, both his attacks and defense have reached the pinnacle. Their devil foundations seem to be perfect as well. My fallen devil region has never produced such characters before, right? Do you have the thought of accepting them as disciples? The old Xia Devil King laughed. Not really. How troublesome is it to teach disciples? How can it be as carefree as being alone for a day? In addition, no matter how outstanding their talent is, it would take too many years for them to reach my level. How troublesome. The fallen devil emperor smiled and shook his head. The people of the myriad devil islands didn't value inheritances as much as the immortal realms. In this fallen devil region, he was the strongest, hence, he had no thoughts of establishing a devil empire. It was more practical for him to pursue his own strength. The stronger he was, the higher his status would be. Hence, even though he admired the talent of these two, he didn't think of accepting them as disciples. Naturally, this also had something to do with the personality of the fallen devil emperor. In addition, did these two really not belong to any sect? From that battlefield, he could see some things. Even the devil emperor was shocked, let alone the others. Yen Yusin and Azure Flame Tuo were already extremely ashamed. Before this, they actually mocked and humiliated Qin Wendian. In front of Qin Wendian, what did they count for? As long as Qin Wendian was willing, he could choose any power on the fallen devil island. Sir Qin is actually so powerful. Xian Yu's heart pounded. She clearly didn't expect that Qin Wendian, who she met in the Celestial Devil Lodge back then, would actually be so graceful. Chapter 1273. In the battlefield at the Burial Gorge, the chaotic battle continued. Numerous violent battles erupted unceasingly, and as time flowed by, more and more experts were eliminated or killed. The battle between Old Chai and Duan Qianshan was extremely intense. The group of people who were protecting Qin Wendian clashed against another group of people, and the situation was just as intense. Naturally, there was only one battle that everyone was paying the most attention to. The battle between Qin Wendian and Huang Shatian. It was as though they had opened up an independent battlefield. There was no one else, and neither of them used any divine weapons. It was as though they were protecting their own pride. For this battle, it was a competition of their own strength. Terrifying law energy flowed around both of them, and neither of them was able to kill the other. However, Huang Shatian seemed to be more skillful and at ease. The 9 human emperors stood there proudly, and under such endless attacks, Qin Wentian's defense would eventually be broken through. If you still don't use your strongest attack, you won't have the chance anymore. Right now, Huang Shatian wasn't far away from Qin Wendian. He shattered another palm imprint as he coldly spoke. I really want to experience it. Qin Wendian coldly replied. He was still like a descendant of the demon god, and his body abruptly shone with a towering devilish light. His entire body was clad in a layer of devilish armor as devilish might churned around him. It was as though he had completely devilized. His terrifying eyes were like that of a demon, becoming bloodthirsty and violent, as though he was about to lose his rationality and enter a berserk state. As expected of a humanoid monster. Huang Shaishan's gaze turned cold. It was one thing for the demonic qi to be violent, but now he was completely devilized as his aura continued to climb. Immortal devil transformation, devilization. He actually used it. The countenance of the Blackstone Devil King changed. He knew how terrifying devilization was. This was a battle where he had to stake everything on a single throw. The demonized Qin Wenyin let out a deafening roar and punched out with both of his fists at the same time. One after another, terrifying demonized demonic beasts struck out violently. The world seemed to be on the verge of splitting apart. Both of Huang Shaishan's hands folded into ancient imprints. Behind him, countless divine weapons congregated, their energy gushing into his body. At this instant, Huang Shatian transformed into the strongest humanoid battle weapon in existence. He slashed out with his hands, manifesting an emperor's sword that could split the heavens and earth apart, slaying the greater demons. With a single point of his finger, it was like a human emperor wielding a brush, capable of penetrating through everything. In order to deal with a humanoid monster like you, how could I not have made some preparations? I've said it before. This time, if I don't have absolute confidence, I won't waste any more time fighting you. Huang Shaishan's body surged with supreme majesty. The shadow of a peerless Ren Huang appeared on his body and gradually merged with him. At this moment, he was an ancient human emperor. He grasped the methods of the human emperor, possessing world-splitting divine abilities and techniques. They can actually grow even stronger? The devil cultivators in the outside world felt their hearts trembling, feeling as though they had received a huge blow. Before this, Qin Wenyin and Huang Shatian were already terrifying enough. However, that wasn't their limit. Right now, the two of them seemed to be even stronger than before. Qin Wenyin went berserk, while Huang Shatian was like an ancient human emperor. Who were they exactly? Why did they have such powerful innate techniques? It was as though their methods were inexhaustible. Such characters, most probably only emperor-ranked powers would be able to nurture them. They might be from the immortal realms. Some of the more intelligent devil cultivators guessed. There were quite a number of people who cultivated immortal energy in this battlefield. Although the myriad devil islands also had immortal-level cultivation arts and immortal cultivators, the Fallen Devil Island was the core of the Fallen Devil region. It was normal for there to be an extremely small number of immortal-level experts in the battlefield. However, Qin Wenyin and Huang Shatian, as well as the protector of Qin Wenyin, were all so powerful. If they came from the immortal realms, they definitely wouldn't be from an ordinary power in the immortal realms. They would surely have extraordinary backgrounds. In the battlefield, the battle between Qin Wenyin and Huang Shatian shocked everyone. Even for the other devil cultivators who were fighting, there were some who stopped to spectate, feeling their hearts trembling. It was too terrifying. Qin Wenyin demonized, transforming into a humanoid war beast while Huang Shaiyan transformed into a humanoid war soldier. Every time the two of them clashed, the impact would be earth-shattering. The demonized Qin Wenyin stepped out, punching out with a simple punch. It was like a world-ending art, capable of destroying everything. The shadow of the dragon of darkness flashed, engulfing the heavens and earth. Huang Shatian lifted his hand and countered with a finger. It was like the finger of a human emperor, capable of shattering the heavens and earth. Boom! Qin Wenyin stomped on the ground, blasting out with both his palms. Huang Shaishan's palms joined together to form a human emperor imprint. With a wave of his hands, the space in the surroundings seemed to be torn apart. The light screen shattered, and all the chaotic currents of qi were shattered into nothingness. Where's your strongest attack? Huang Shatian roared. He moved within the spatial light, transforming into an ancient emperor that roamed the world. Everything in his surroundings was destroyed. Compared to the battle in the Sacred Academy back then, Huang Shatian was far stronger by a level. Back then, he also walked towards Qin Wenyin step by step, unleashing an ultimate attack. But now, he was even more confident, even more arrogant. Boom! Qin Wentian's immortal foundation was now in a state of devilization. Darkness devil might blotted out the sky, enveloping the entire space, causing the entire space to turn dark. Huang Shan stared at the gigantic body of Qin Wenyin as he coldly spoke. Can you still control yourself? After speaking, he lifted his hands. A beam of light broke through the darkness, cascading down from the sky. Before the human emperor Huang Shatian, an ancient human emperor sword that could annihilate everything appeared, as though it was summoned from the void. This sword seemed to be illusory. When the tyrannical attacks landed on it, they were directly shattered or sunk into nothingness, unable to touch the sword at all. Huang Shaishan's eyes were incomparably solemn. Boundless energy gathered within the sword. He stared at Qin Wenyan. His gaze was like an extremely sharp sword as he spoke. If you still don't unleash your strongest attack, you won't have another chance to do so. As the sound of his voice faded, the sword erupted with boundless killing light, so blinding that many people had to close their eyes. There were even some devil cultivators who bled from their eyes. Just that sword intent alone was enough to kill powerful devil cultivators. How terrifying was this sword? Huang Shaishan's supreme strength, the might of an immortal king from his body of laws, all merged into the ancient human emperor sword. This wasn't a divine weapon but was formed from his own energy. However, it was even sharper and more terrifying compared to divine weapons. How powerful! The devil cultivators in the surroundings all hurriedly retreated. They could feel that even if the aftershocks of this attack landed on them, they might be killed. Also, if they were struck by this attack, they would die for sure. In the outside world, many devil cultivators even stood up from their seats, feeling incomparably shocked as they stared at the scene before them. The battle between these two grew more and more intense, shocking the heavens and earth and causing ghosts and gods to weep. It was too terrifying. With this sword, the battle will end. The old Xia Devil King drained the wine in his cup as he calmly spoke. If this sword descends, would that young man still be able to survive? There were some who silently mourned for Qin Wenyan. Although they didn't personally feel the might of that sword strike, these devil kings could feel how powerful it was just by looking at it with their own eyes. The battle hasn't ended yet. Who knows if Qin Wenyan doesn't have any trump cards? The Blackstone Devil King had a dark expression on his face. Although he spoke this way, he was actually feeling a little nervous in his heart. Not only for him, the third Princess Yen Yurua's beautiful eyes stared fixedly at this scene. Her heartbeat quickened as her countenance turned pale. A hint of fear actually appeared in her heart, as though the person facing that sword was her and not Qin Wenyan. Even Xen Yu felt the same way. She was incomparably nervous as she stared at that devilized figure while silently praying in her heart, "Sir Qin." She had never thought that someone she had only met once would be able to leave such a deep impression on her. On the battlefield, Qin Wenyan faced that sword directly. His devilized immortal foundation radiated a terrifying black light, resembling the starry skies of the night sky, cascading down on the heavens and earth. His cold eyes stared at Huang Shaishan's sword. What is that? At this moment, the spectators outside the battlefield could faintly see a black shadow leaving Qin Wenyan's body, flying towards the back, completely vanishing into the darkness. The Devil Emperor's eyes narrowed as he stared at this scene. After that, Huang Shaishan's sword slashed down. The ancient human emperor sword could split the heavens and earth apart. As this sword descended, from the top to the bottom, from the heavens to the earth, from the front to the back, everything was lacerated. In that area of space, a beam of light appeared, stopping there. Qin Wenyan's body was split into two by that sword. Huang Shaishan stood there with his sword in hand, staring at the figure that was split into two. His eyes were calm as he sighed lightly in his heart. Although Qin Wenyan was someone he had to kill, after killing him, Huang Shaishan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It was extremely rare to encounter an opponent like Qin Wenyan. If it wasn't for Qin Wenyan's battle in the Sacred Academy back then, he wouldn't have grown so strong so quickly. A powerful opponent would only spur you forward. You need a strong will to surpass your opponent or you would be surpassed. After this battle, where else could he find a powerful opponent? That figure dissipated and at this moment, Huang Shaishan frowned. Abruptly, a powerful sharpness erupted from his eyes as he inclined his head and stared at the darkness in the air. Within that boundless darkness, a tyrannical demonic might suddenly appeared, descending from the sky as a terrifying strike descended. It was that strike again, an attack capable of devouring everything, blasting towards Qin Wenyan. That incomparably gigantic vortex of darkness engulfed the heavens and earth. Even with the power of space, it was impossible for Qin Wenyan to evade this attack. As expected, I've underestimated you. A voice rang out in Huang Shaishan's heart. This strike was extremely similar to the battle in the Sacred Academy. It was like a cycle of reincarnation, repeating itself in this battlefield. And this time around, Qin Wendian actually managed to evade his attack. This was simply fatal. Qin Wendian, as expected, wasn't the Qin Wendian of the past. However, he, Huang Shatian, wasn't the Huang Shatian of the past as well. With this attack, there was no way he would be able to injure him. Even if he didn't succeed in a single strike, there was no need for him to think about it. He didn't think about how Qin Wendian managed to deceive him earlier. There was no need for him to do so. Failure is failure. Everything can wait until the end of the battle before thinking about it. Chapter 1274. What's going on? The people outside were all shocked. Even some devil kings could see some clues. How could an existence like Huang Shatian not be able to? Also, what kind of ability was that of Qin Wendian? Interesting. The devil emperor laughed. We can see it clearly from the outside, but those two fellows are fighting in close combat. That dark space is Qin Wendian's law domain. We can't sense it, but Huang Shatian is trapped within. In that case, that dark space isn't the power of devilization? A devil king frowned. The devilization is merely a method to fool Huang Shatian. If I didn't guess wrongly, there should be dream force hidden within. He is creating dreams for Huang Shatian, and it's very possible that Huang Shatian doesn't know about this ability of his. If not, given his powerful will, he would still be able to break free. The fallen devil emperor laughed. The old Xia devil king who was at the side frowned. This old friend of his seemed to admire Qin Wendian a lot. In the end, it's still a heretical path. The old Xia devil king calmly spoke. This attack of his isn't weak at all. The devil emperor stared at the battlefield. The terrifying darkness was similar to what happened back then in the Sacred Academy, engulfing Huang Shatian within. The people outside couldn't hear it, but Qin Wendian could hear intense rumbling sounds coming from within. The 9 human emperors transformed into 9 beams of light and shot into the vortex as resplendent golden ancient emperor wills gushed forth. Qin Wendian's countenance sank, after which he stepped out, stepping into the vortex as well. In that instant, a heaven-shaking rumbling sound rang out as a black hurricane manifested, shaking the heavens and earth. It was as though a terrifying devil dragon of darkness had appeared in the sky, only to be torn apart and destroyed in an instant. At this moment, a heaven-splitting light flashed. Cracks appeared on the world, destroying vortex of darkness. As the blazing light grew brighter and brighter, the world-destroying darkness was completely torn apart. With a thunderous rumble, everything shattered. A figure was forced backwards. It was none other than the devil-transformed Qin Wendian. His entire body was still enveloped by a terrifying destructive might, but drops of blood dripped from his body. In the darkness, the color of his blood was exceptionally bright. Huang Shatian stood there, his aura fluctuating. The human emperor light around him dimmed, no longer as resplendent as before. Only his eyes were as sharp as ever, sharper than swords, staring fixedly at Qin Wendian's silhouette. The atmosphere seemed to have solidified. The two of them no longer made any moves. The devilized Qin Wendian exhaled a thick and heavy breath. His eyes were like that of a demon, completely different from the Qin Wendian who was avoiding battle earlier. For the sake of victory, he was willing to do anything. Qin Wendian was confident. He believed that after his strength increased and stepped into the immortal king realm, if he encountered Huang Shatian again, he would definitely be able to defeat his opponent if he went all out. However, he clearly underestimated Huang Shaishan's transformation. Compared to back then when he was in the Sacred Academy, Huang Shatian was much stronger. Huang Shatian was similarly confident and arrogant. He said before that if he didn't have the confidence to kill Qin Wendian, he wouldn't act. Clearly, as a supreme genius of the immortal realms, he had undergone a transformation and had absolute confidence in himself. However, he had also underestimated his opponent. Cough, cough. A cough broke the silence. Huang Shan coughed as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He suddenly laughed as he shook his head lightly. Although he was injured, he still stood straight and upright. Ultimately, I still wasn't able to kill you. Seems like the battle between us will continue. I wonder if the myriad devil islands will be your burial ground or mine. Huang Shaishan's words were as cold as the edge of a blade. He respected such an opponent, but his killing intent wouldn't change. If he wanted to advance further, he had to surpass this opponent. Qin Wentian's aura fluctuated as the devil might radiating from him gradually faded away. His handsome and devilish countenance was now pale. He didn't say anything. He was also extremely weak right now. After the battle in the Sacred Academy, in the myriad devil islands, he still had no way to defeat Huang Shatian. A character at the peak of immortal foundation in the immortal realms, after obtaining the inheritance of the 9 emperors' immortal state, how could he be ordinary? Has it ended? The spectators in the outside world silently mused as they watched this battle. Ultimately, neither of them could defeat their opponent. Both of them were already sufficiently strong and proud enough. Yen Yuruar and Xen Yu finally set their hearts at ease. When they saw how terrifying Huang Shatian was, they were indeed worried that Qin Wenyan would be killed in this battle. Luckily, Qin Wenyan was also powerful to the extreme. They had never seen such a powerful Devil Foundation character before. From their impression, this should be the strength of Devil Kings. The Devil Cultivators were also deeply shocked by the battle between the two of them. They only felt an intense baptism to their souls. So it turned out that the talent they were so proud of was actually so weak. In front of the two of them, they were so insignificant. If these two were their enemies, only death awaited them. There were only about 100 people left in the burial canyon. The number of people still fighting was even lesser. The Devil Emperor glanced at the battlefield and drank 2 cups of wine. He then smiled. Since there's no more fighting, let's end it here. Right. A Devil King subordinate of the Devil Emperor spoke. Let's open the battlefield. An instant later, an incomparably terrifying light radiated from the battlefield. The people inside all inclined their heads. They knew that the battle had ended. The Devil Emperor already had a candidate in his heart. For this Devil Horde battle, it wasn't necessary to determine the victor. In truth, it was only for the sake of displaying their strength during the Devil Emperor's birthday celebration. Such an opportunity might be hard to come by, but to the Devil Emperor, it didn't matter. When the light screen opened, the spatial formation dissipated. They discovered that they were now standing in the air above the battlefield. Their auras were all retracted. After that, they inclined their heads and stared in the direction of the Devil Emperor. Many experts all bowed to him as a sign of respect. Not bad. The fallen Devil Emperor smiled and nodded. Being able to see the glory of the juniors during the birthday celebration is truly a delightful thing. In addition, I'm sure many of the major powers on my fallen Devil Island will have more talented juniors joining them. Your Majesty is praising these little fellows too much. The Devil Kings laughed. They are truly not bad. In addition, under such a difficult battle, it's even rarer to be able to control themselves and not rely on divine weapons to fight. The Devil Emperor laughed. The gazes of many turned to Huang Shatian and Qin Wenyan. Both of them had powerful divine weapons, but in that soul-stirring battle, they all consciously controlled themselves and didn't use the power of their divine weapons to launch sneak attacks. This was a true martial spirit. Similarly, this was also a form of respect to their opponents. Everyone, who do you think the top 10 belong to? The Devil Emperor smiled as he asked the crowd. His words caused the expressions of the crowd to turn heavy as they stared at those experts who were still standing on the battle platforms. As for those two who are fighting, Huang Shatian and Qin Wenyan, they should naturally occupy 2 spots. A Devil King laughed. Also, Old Chai and his opponent, I wonder what their names are. They should occupy 2 spots as well. Another Devil King spoke. On the platform, Duan Qianshan spoke. Junior Duan Qianshan. Okay, in that case, let's settle these 4 first. The Devil Emperor nodded. The 4 of them had already been confirmed. Xia Yuan should have a spot. A Devil King spoke. The expression of the old Xia Devil King was very calm. He didn't recommend Xia Yuan. Xia Yuan was a peak ranker on the devil rankings. His brilliance wasn't that dazzling in this battle. Xia Yuan should have a spot. The Devil Emperor nodded. As for the other three beside Qin Wenyan, they are all fine. The Blackstone Devil King spoke, his words causing the expressions of everyone to turn solemn. Three at the same time. In that case, Qin Wenyan, Duan Qianshan, Qida, Nanfeng Ruoxuan and Mo Zian, that would already be a total of 5. Their previous opponents, the White Tiger and a swordsman, can each take a spot. Someone spoke. These two were none other than the White Tiger people and an expert from the Supreme Sword School. These people were all peak-level Immortal Foundation characters chosen by the Immortal Realms to participate in the adjudication battle. Naturally, they would be extremely outstanding on this battlefield. Many people had expressions of interest on their faces. Among these 10, there were actually quite a few who were immortal cultivators. Fine, let's settle on these 10 then. The Devil Emperor nodded his head, causing the other experts to have looks of disappointment on their faces. As for the others, they are all outstanding juniors and I believe they will have their own good fortune. There's no need to be too concerned about them. The Devil Emperor smiled. They bowed and retreated from the battlefield. There were only 10 people left on the floating battle platform, attracting everyone's attention. The third princess Yen Yurua stared at Qin Wentian's silhouette as she felt extremely excited. A faint smile could be seen on her face. This fellow was going to be in the limelight this time around. Her elder sister Yen Yusin had a look of disappointment on her face. She didn't know what to feel in her heart. The Blackstone Devil King and Xan Yu were also feeling happy for Qin Wenyan. Not only would Qin Wenyan be in the limelight, he should be able to become one of the 3 chosen by the Devil Emperor. In fact, he would even be able to make a request to the Devil Emperor. During the birthday banquet, as long as the request wasn't too overboard, the Devil Emperor would usually agree to it. Next, who do you guys think should be rewarded? The Devil Emperor smiled as he asked the people in the surroundings. The people around Qin Wenyan, that White Tiger and the Sword Cultivator should be rewarded. A Devil King laughed. MOG, what do you think? The Devil Emperor smiled at MOG who was beside him. Whoever you think should be rewarded will naturally be rewarded. MOG smiled, she didn't express her opinion. Old Xia, what do you think? The Devil Emperor smiled at the Old Xia Devil King. The people around Qin Wenyan have all displayed powerful combat prowess and should be rewarded. Also for Qin Wenyan, although he borrowed the power of some secret arts during his battle against Huang Shatian, his combat prowess is extraordinary. He should be the one most deserving of the reward. The Old Xia Devil King spoke, his words causing the gazes of many experts to freeze. Qin Wenyan, the one most deserving of the reward? Although his words seemed to be praising Qin Wenyan, who wouldn't understand the meaning behind it. Chapter 1275. Out of the 10 chosen participants, 7 of them would receive a reward and 3 of them would be able to make a request to the Devil Emperor. Clearly, the number of those 3 chosen was even lesser. They were the final victors. Also, this Old Xia Devil King seemed to be flattering Qin Wenyan, saying that Qin Wenyan was the one who deserved a reward the most. Didn't this mean that Qin Wenyan deserved a reward from the Devil Emperor? In that case, he would have no fate with the other 3. Many Devil Kings laughed but didn't say anything. No matter how outstanding Qin Wentian's performance was, it ultimately had nothing to do with them. Clearly, they wouldn't offend Old Xia Devil King for the sake of Qin Wenyan. On the platform, Qin Wentian's brows furrowed. Regardless of him or Huang Shatian, they came to the Myriad Devil Islands for one thing, and that was the adjudication battle. This was a battle they had to win no matter what methods they used. One could say that the adjudication battle was another competition apart from their own battles. It was no longer a pure clash of strength, but rather, it was a display of innate techniques. He and Huang Shatian were both participating in the Devil Emperor's birthday celebration for the sake of victory in the adjudication battle. Both of them wanted to make a request to the Devil Emperor. If the other 3 chose Huang Shatian instead of him, even if they fought to a draw with Huang Shatian, it would only be a draw between the 2 of them. To the entire adjudication battle, it would be a calamity. This old Xia Devil King was simply too detestable. Huang Shatian came to the fallen Devil Island in advance and directly used the old Xia Devil King's body. It was unknown what methods he used. Huang Shatian fought to a draw with Qin Wenyan. Even if he borrowed the power of a secret art, wouldn't it be based on his own strength as well? In addition, Qin Wenyan's cultivation base is lower compared to Huang Shatian. Being able to fight to such an extent, who can say who would be the victor between the two of them? I feel that these two should be two of the top three. The Blackstone Devil King calmly spoke. His voice was light, but there was no doubt that he was refuting the words of the old Xia Devil King. No matter how one looked at it, old Xia Devil King's stance wasn't fair. Even if he sided with Huang Shatian, he shouldn't be able to deny Qin Wenyan, right? Of course, all the demon kings present could see this. What sort of character was the Devil Emperor? How could he not know that the old Xia Devil King was biased towards Huang Shaiyan? One was an old friend who had gone through life and death with him, the other was a junior with outstanding talent. There was basically no need to consider which side to choose. However, the problem was that if the Devil Emperor sided with the old Xia Devil King, not only would it be unfair to Qin Wenyan, it would also damage his prestige as the Devil Emperor. The old Xia Devil King should understand this point as well, yet he still said this. There was a deeper meaning behind his words. At the location where the Devil Emperor was at, it was extremely quiet. It all depended on whether the Devil Emperor would give face to the old Xia Devil King or not. The Devil Emperor turned his gaze to the old Xia Devil King as a faint smile appeared on his face. Old Xia, who do you think should get the 3 quotas? Huangshan, Old Chai and Xia Yuan. I feel that the 3 of them aren't bad. As for the others, they can all be rewarded. The old Xia Devil King stared at the Devil Emperor as a deep intent flashed in his eyes. He knew that if he wanted his old friend to give face to him, it would make things difficult for the Devil Emperor. But since they had gone through life and death with each other, he believed that this old friend of his would be able to understand him. When Qin Wenyan heard the words of the old Xia Devil King, his eyes turned exceptionally cold. He then transmitted his voice to Huang Shen. Seems like he doesn't simply regard you as important. I have no choice but to admire your strength. There will still be battles between us in the future. However, for this adjudication battle, it won't be decided based on our strength alone. I will naturally use all my methods to obtain victory for this adjudication battle. Huang Shatian calmly transmitted his voice back to Qin Wenyan. The adjudication battle wasn't merely a personal battle between them. The adjudication battle has just begun. Qin Wenyan closed his eyes and drew in a deep breath. If Huang Shatian obtained the 3 quotas, his request would definitely be the same as his. He wanted the Devil Emperor to give the order to search for the experts sent to the myriad Devil Islands. At that time, it would truly be a calamity for them. The Devil Emperor gave the order for the controllers of the millions of islands in the fallen Devil region to search for them. Let's wait and see then. Huang Shatian calmly replied. Everyone turned to the Devil Emperor and the old Xia Devil King. Seems like this old Xia Devil King was determined to get the Devil Emperor to give him face. Xia Yuan? The Blackstone Devil King was somewhat unconvinced. Qin Wenyan and Huang Shatian fought to a draw. Old Chai and Duan Qianshan were in a stalemate. Huang Shatian and Old Chai obtained 3 quotas, but Qin Wenyan and Duan Qianshan didn't. Instead, Xia Yuan got the quota. Senior Xia, this doesn't seem logical, right? Impudent. What qualifications do you have to speak here? The old Xia Devil King turned his head and glanced at the Blackstone Devil King, his gaze extremely sharp. In this place, how could a mere Devil King under the command of the Devil Emperor have the qualifications to speak? Who was he? He was someone who had a life and death friendship with the Devil Emperor. The expression of the Blackstone Devil King turned ugly, but he had nothing to say. In such a situation, his words truly had no weight at all. Senior Xia's words are logical. Qin Wenyan relied on a secret art, while Duan Qianshan is an immortal. Since this is the birthday celebration of the Devil Emperor, devil cultivators should be the most respected. Old Chai and Xia Yuan are both devil cultivators of our fallen Devil Island, and their strength is also at the peak. they naturally won't be selected. At this moment, an expert interjected, causing the countenance of the Blackstone Devil King to turn even more unsightly. The person who spoke was none other than the Black Jiao Devil King. Enough, there's no need to argue. The purpose of this competition is to liven up the atmosphere. All the geniuses here are all very outstanding, there's no difference in who gets the rewards or requests. The Devil Emperor calmly spoke, causing everyone to shut up. After that, the Devil Emperor lifted his wine cup and smiled, "Let's toast to all the geniuses of the younger generations." The Devil Emperor is wise. All the experts raised their cups and drank. The Devil Emperor was right. This competition was ultimately just a celebration of the Devil Emperor's birthday. The Devil Emperor could choose whatever he wanted to. Other than those from the major powers staring at a portion of the geniuses, in truth, they were merely trying to win the Devil Emperor's favor. The Devil Emperor could do whatever he wanted. No matter how outstanding Qin Wentian's talent was, he was merely a junior at the Devil Foundation realm. Putting down his wine cup, the Devil Emperor smiled, "Let's do as old Xia suggested. Huang Shutian, Old Chai and Xia Yuan can make a request to me. As for the other 7, they will be rewarded." The expressions of everyone froze. Ultimately, the Devil Emperor still gave face to the old Xia Devil King. After all, they were once friends of life and death. It was rare for the old Xia Devil King to give face and insist on this matter. The fallen Devil Emperor could only choose to wrong Qin Wenin. The Devil Emperor is wise. All the Devil Kings spoke in unison. The Devil Emperor is wise. Countless devil cultivators spoke, congratulating the Devil Emperor for his decision. No matter what decision the Devil Emperor made, it was naturally wise because he was the Devil Emperor. The Devil Emperor is wise? Qin Wendian closed his eyes before opening them again. His aura fluctuated and the people around him all had cold looks in their eyes, as though they were filled with reluctance. What was the Devil Emperor's decision based on? Based on? He was the Devil Emperor and this place was his territory. The Devil Emperor naturally had the qualifications to decide everything, who could obtain the rewards and who could make a request to him. A deep smile appeared in the eyes of the old Xia Devil King. He glanced at Qin Wendian. He didn't have any prejudice towards Qin Wendian. As to why he was so insistent, it was naturally because of the benefits involved. This isn't fair. The third princess Yen Yurua spoke from the crowd. However, the people in the surroundings merely glanced at her. Who would care about a mere third princess? Even her father, the Blackstone Devil King, didn't have any authority to speak. Who could doubt the Devil Emperor's decision? The 3 of you, what requests do you have? You can state them now. The Devil Emperor stared at Huang Shutian and the other 2. Senior Devil Emperor, this old man only wishes to step into the Devil King realm. I have no other requests. Old Chai spoke. He should be thanking the old Xia Devil King. Unknowingly, the old Xia Devil King had helped him, pushing him up to the top. If not, old Chai understood that his slot would have already belonged to Qin Wenin. I wish for the Devil Emperor to guide Junior in my cultivation. Xia Yuan spoke, his words causing the eyes of everyone to flash. This Xia Yuan was extremely intelligent. This request clearly indicated that he wanted to become a disciple of the Devil Emperor. Even if the Devil Emperor didn't accept him as a disciple, he wouldn't reject this request and could still be considered half a disciple. Also, leaving aside the status of half a disciple, the guidance of the Devil Emperor would naturally be extraordinary as well. As for Old Chai's request, everyone had long guessed it. Everyone on the fallen Devil Island knew how badly Old Chai wanted to take that step. Wanting to step into the Devil King realm ultimately isn't something that can be achieved with external help. Old Chai, you have already reached the Devil Foundation realm. This is the limit you can reach. Next, you still need an opportunity. Stay in the Devil Palace and let me try. If you fail, don't blame me. The Devil Emperor calmly spoke. Many thanks for the Devil Emperor's help. Old Chai bowed. Xia Yuan, there's no problem with your request. The Devil Emperor nodded lightly. Thank you, Devil Emperor. Xia Yuan bowed. What about you? The Devil Emperor glanced at Huang Shutian. I need Senior Devil Emperor to give the order to search for some people in the Fallen Devil region for me. Huang Shatian spoke. Sure. The Devil Emperor nodded. This was just an order. Huang Shaishan's request was very simple. Thank you, Devil Emperor. Junior might be so bold as to ask, if you find them, can you send them to me? Huang Shatian spoke again. This is already the second request. The Devil Emperor laughed. Huang Shan bowed. Junior understands. As for the other 7, grant them their titles. The Devil Emperor smiled. After that, 7 beautiful maidens held the rewards in their hands as they floated towards the battle platform. The White Tiger people and the experts from the Supreme Sword School all accepted the rewards and thanked the Devil Emperor. Before Qin Wendian, Qida, Duan Qianshan, Nanfeng Ruoxuan and Mo Zian, the 5 maidens all received the rewards from the Devil Emperor with smiles on their faces. However, Qin Wendian didn't stretch his hands out to receive it. The others didn't do so as well. Clearly, the 5 of them were unwilling to accept it. Hence, with regards to the rewards from the Devil Emperor, they all had the heart to reject it. This scene caused the gazes of countless people to freeze as they stared at the 5 of them. What did this mean? Junior came here to congratulate Senior Devil Emperor on his birthday, but I didn't dare to hope for any rewards. Since I have not contributed to the Devil Emperor, I don't dare to accept the rewards. Qin Wendian spoke, causing everyone to be shocked. Qin Wendian rejected the rewards from the Devil Emperor. Chapter 1276. During the birthday celebration of the Devil Emperor, it was a tradition and an honor. Qin Wendian said that he didn't have any contributions to the Devil Emperor and didn't dare to accept it. This undoubtedly meant that he didn't give the Devil Emperor any face. In this vast area, the atmosphere was extremely tense. Rejecting the glory bestowed by the Devil Emperor was something that had never happened before. But today it actually happened. Even the gaze of the Blackstone Devil King froze there. He stared at Qin Wendian, sweating profusely for this fellow. Wasn't this brat a little too crazy? Even if he was unhappy with the decision of the Devil Emperor, he shouldn't have retaliated in front of everyone. He was the Devil Emperor. So what if your talent is outstanding? You are merely a junior. If the Devil Emperor wanted to squash you to death, just a single word from him would be as simple as squashing an ant. Let alone the Devil Emperor, even if there were many Devil Kings here, they could easily kill Qin Wendian. Sir Qin. Xan Yu's expression instantly turned nervous. She was also worried for Qin Wendian. Not long ago, she was still feeling proud and honored for Qin Wendian. Qin Wendian displayed such combat prowess and obtained the honor bestowed by the Devil Emperor. But in the blink of an eye, he actually fell into such a situation. Truly, the world was ever-changing. The one who started all of this was naturally the old Xia Devil King. But who would dare to say anything? After all, the decision was still made by the Devil Emperor. Even if Qin Wendian was unhappy, he should at least temporarily endure it. After today, the major powers on the Fallen Devil Island would be his to choose. Now that he rejected the reward, how would there be a place for him to stay on the Fallen Devil Island? Yen Yurua clenched her fists tightly, silently cursing that fellow for being so impulsive. Even Huang Shatian turned his gaze over, staring at Qin Wendian with some astonishment. This fellow was truly arrogant, directly rejecting the reward of the Devil Emperor. If he was in Qin Wendian's shoes, he would also make the same choice as Qin Wendian, rejecting the rewards. This was how they were. However, Huang Shatian didn't feel the slightest bit guilty. The judgment battle depended on one's own means. Apart from defeating Qin Wendian, which was his obsession, he also needed to win the judgment battle. We haven't made any contributions, so we don't dare to accept the title either. Qida and the others spoke, rejecting the Devil Emperor's reward in unison. The atmosphere in the vast space grew even tenser. Because of the silence, it seemed oppressive. Many people turned to look at the Demon Emperor. How impudent! The expression of the old Xia Devil King was like ice as he spoke. Are you guys questioning the decision of the Devil Emperor? How audacious! Qin Wendian furrowed his brows. After the battle with Huang Shatian, regardless of him or Huang Shatian, both of them were still in a weakened state. He also knew that rejecting the Devil Emperor would only be disadvantageous to them. But sometimes, the stubbornness of humans wouldn't be controlled by logic. Because humans had pride. If he was defeated, if he was truly inferior to Old Chai and Xia Yuan, he would naturally have nothing to say. But given the obvious situation, even a blind man could see it. If he wanted him to accept the so-called reward, he wouldn't be able to do it. No matter what, Senior is a Devil King powerhouse, yet you actually spat out such filthy words. How disappointing. We came here to participate in this battle to celebrate the Devil Emperor's birthday. We're upright, and we don't deserve a reward if we don't do anything. We don't think that there's any reason for the Devil Emperor to reward us. But in Senior's mouth, it became a dog's guts. Dare I ask, is this the bearing of a highly respected senior? Qin Wenyin calmly spoke in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the old Xia Devil King. Because for this matter, he was the one who incited the Devil Emperor to make this decision. Hence, Qin Wentian's questioning and rejection of the conferment was akin to smacking his face, causing him to be unsightly. Hence, he was angry. Enough, you guys naturally have the right to choose. You guys can leave now. At this moment, the Devil Emperor spoke. The female on the floating platform retreated. The expression of the old Xia Devil King was like ice. But since the Devil Emperor has spoken, he naturally wouldn't say anything else. Everyone return to your seats. The Devil Emperor spoke. He and the old Xia Devil King had a friendship of life and death. However, this matter wasn't handled beautifully. It was inevitable for young people to have some personality. He wouldn't really be angered by Qin Wenyin. Qin Wenyin and the other 9 participants walked down the platform and returned to their respective seats. Qin Wenyin walked to his seat while Huang Shatian sat beside him. They didn't seem like mortal enemies at all. Xnyu's soft body burrowed into Qin Wentian's embrace as she gently transmitted her voice. Sir, why must you place yourself in such a situation? Although the Devil Emperor wasn't angered, the people below would be able to guess his intentions. Let alone the fact that Sir displayed such extraordinary capabilities and obtained the support of so many people in the battlefield. This would only put you in an extremely disadvantageous position. Qin Wenyin stared at the beauty in his embrace as he listened to the Devil Kings chatting and laughing. Many of them praised Huang Shatian. There were also some who praised Old Chai and Xia Yuan. Only he, Qin Wenyin, seemed to have become transparent and was ignored. Clearly, to these Devil Kings, no matter how outstanding his talent was, how could it be compared to the attitude of the Devil Emperor? As the saying goes, the fickleness of human emotions. When one was at his peak, he would naturally have friends everywhere. But when one was at his peak, one would naturally see the hearts of others. Let alone the fact that he had no friendship with these Devil Kings. However, what made Qin Wenyin a little taken aback was that although the beauty in his embrace was half a prostitute, she still didn't avoid him and was still very close to him. Although this attitude was ambiguous and inappropriate, how could it not cause people to feel warmth in their hearts? Since your heart is as clear as a mirror and can see through everything, why is there a need for you to be so close to me? You should stay far away from me instead. Qin Wenyin transmitted his voice in a low voice. Xnu originally has nothing. Could it be that there would still be people who would vent their anger on me because of Sir? In addition, Sir's promise in the past, Xnu had some doubts about it. But now that I've seen Sir's true character, I feel gratitude in my heart. The first time we met, Sir is actually willing to redeem Xnu's freedom. How can I not be filled with gratitude? Qin Wenyin bitterly smiled and shook his head, sighing in his heart. He then continued, Xnu, how about you help me do something? Sir, please instruct me. Xnu replied. I need to know if there are any powerful devil regions in the surroundings of the fallen devil region. It would be best if they are stronger than the fallen devil region. In addition, I need to use the teleportation array in the fallen devil region to head there. Qin Wenyin transmitted his voice. Right now, Huang Shatian was a step ahead of him. He naturally wouldn't sit still and wait for death, waiting for the fallen devil emperor to give the order to find the person he and Huang Shatian wanted to find. I've heard the Lodge Lord say that there are. It's just that I'm not very clear about the specifics. After all, I've never understood the devil regions outside. However, I can help sir to gather some information. Xan Yu replied. Qin Wenyan transmitted his voice in reply. After that, Xan Yu only felt Qin Wenyan grabbing her hand. Her hand trembled slightly as an interspatial ring appeared in her palm. The things inside are sufficient for you to redeem yourself. I don't need you to be my maid and serve me. If you are willing, you can find an opportunity to leave the Celestial Devil Lodge. Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. Xan Yu inclined her head, her beautiful eyes staring at Qin Wenyan. Don't reject me. Qin Wenyan laughed as he continued to transmit his voice over. Xan Yu nodded her head lightly. She didn't say any words of thanks. From afar, the devilish female gritted her teeth in hatred when she saw how intimate the two of them were. She cursed in her heart. What time is this already? He still has the mood to flirt? This bastard. However, Yen Yurua's heart was also filled with sourness. She hoped that she could be by Qin Wentian's side to accompany him. Today, the mental blow to him would definitely not be small. Also, she didn't know what would be waiting for him next. After that, the banquet was naturally filled with joy. However, Qin Wentian seemed somewhat out of place. He had his eyes closed and was resting. Beside him, Huang Shan was the same as well. His eyes were closed, as though he was cultivating. Only until the Devil Emperor gave the order to end the banquet did Huang Shatian stand up and leave with the Devil Emperor. Most probably, he was preparing to tell the Devil Emperor who he was looking for. Old Chai and Xia Yuan also left with the Devil Emperor. The experts in the banquet all stood up one after another. Many powerful devil sects started to send invitations to some of the more outstanding wuxiu. However, although Qin Wenyan and Duan Qianshan were outstanding, no one invited them. For people who didn't give face to the Devil Emperor, who would dare to invite them? No matter how outstanding their talent was, this place was the Fallen Devil Island, a place governed by the Devil Emperor. The Devil Kings all knew that it was very difficult for the Fallen Devil Island to contain Qin Wenyan and the others. They might only have a path of death. Qin Wenyan, leave the Fallen Devil Island immediately. The Blackstone Devil King transmitted his voice to Qin Wenyan. Qin Wentian's performance during the battle was too dazzling. He was personally appointed by the Devil Emperor and initially, no one would dare to touch him. However, he rejected the reward from the Devil Emperor. The meaning behind this wasn't as simple as rejecting the reward from the Devil Emperor. In fact, it could even be said that he was courting death. Qin Wentian frowned. Seems like the situation was more serious than he had imagined. Xan Yu, can you help me settle this matter as fast as possible? Qin Wenyan transmitted his voice to Xan Yu. I'll go and beg the Lodge Lord. Xan Yu replied. Lodge Lord, she will help you? Qin Wentian frowned. Lodge Lord, she isn't as simple as you think. She isn't an ordinary person. Xan Yu spoke. Qin Wenyan naturally understood that for a power like the Celestial Devil Lodge to be able to establish it, how could it be simple? Go ahead then. Qin Wenyan nodded. Xan Yu left his side and headed towards the Lodge Lord's direction. At this moment, another female walked over to Qin Wentian's side, glaring at him in anger. Who made Third Princess angry? Qin Wentian smiled as he asked. The anger on the devilish female's face instantly vanished, replaced by a beautiful smile. She walked over and leaned against Qin Wenyan as she spoke in a gentle voice. Could it be that you feel that I'm not as beautiful as that vixen? The people in the surroundings stared at Qin Wenyan. This fellow, his luck with women truly wasn't bad. Qin Wenyan had a face filled with black lines. This devilish female. Third Princess, stop messing around. The Devil King transmitted his voice to me, telling me to leave immediately. It's naturally impossible for me to return to the Blackstone Devil Island. In the future, please take care of yourself. If you have the heart, please help me take care of that last Juyu. Qin Wenyan transmitted his voice to the devilish female. Yen Yurua's beautiful eyes flashed as she stared at Qin Wenyan in a daze. Was he going to leave? What if I leave together with you? The devilish female asked. Third princess, are you not afraid that the devil king will kill me? Qin Wenyan speechlessly spoke. In addition, I already have a wife. Third princess will naturally have a good husband in the future. Chapter 1277. Abandoning me after toying with me? You are shameless. The devilish female stared at Qin Wenyan with a wronged expression. The people around her all cast looks of disdain at Qin Wenyan. This fellow, relying on his talent to toy with beauties, how shameless. Qin Wenyan's face was filled with black lines. This devilish female, he was simply speechless. Who was the one toying with who exactly? Naturally, Qin Wenyan felt warmth in his heart. This devilish female must be doing this to ease his emotions. Many experts left this place and not long after, Xnu returned. The devilish female hugged Qin Wenyan's arm, smiling at Xnu as though she was provoking her. Sir Qin, Xnu has already inquired about it. Xnu didn't really mind the devilish female. She originally didn't have any relationship with Qin Wenyan. Why would she have any thoughts of jealousy? Qin Wenyan's eyes flashed. After that, a strand of will light shot out from the center of Xnu's brows, seeping into Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan opened up his sea of consciousness to receive it as some information flowed in. The vast Sky Devil Emperor, the vast Sky Devil region is truly tyrannical. Qin Wenyan silently mused. After that, he turned to Xnu and spoke, Xnu, many thanks. Sir Qin, there's no need to be so polite. Xnu's voice was gentle as she transmitted her voice over. Let's move out. The Fallen Devil Island is the central area of the Fallen Devil region, and there are teleportation arrays that lead to other devil regions. Let me bring you to the teleportation array on the Fallen Devil Island. Let's go. Qin Wenyan stood up. The devilish female pulled his arm and stood up as well, leaning on him. Third princess. Qin Wenyan stared at the wronged look on the devilish female's face. He couldn't help but to turn and speak to her. The Devil King is still waiting for you. Let's return. Do you really intend to abandon me like this? The devilish female glared at Qin Wenyan, causing Qin Wenyan to sigh in his heart. In the past, the devilish female was only interested in him. But now, it seemed like she had truly fallen in love with him. Qin Wenyan cupped the devilish female's face and smiled. Didn't you say that my guts are very small? Today, your subordinate's guts shall grow for once. As he spoke, Qin Wenyan leaned forward and lightly planted a kiss on the forehead of the third princess. The beautiful eyes of the third princess flashed, but after that, she felt that pair of warm palms moving away. Qin Wenyan had already started walking forward. The people around him, as well as Xnu, all followed after him. If anything happens to you, this princess will definitely not spare you. This princess commands you to come to the Devil Island to pay a visit to this princess in the future. Princess, this princess I will. With you, this princess I, you I, Qin you, I, Qin you. I said. At this moment, the devilish female only felt a hand resting on her shoulder. Turning her head, the devilish female saw the Blackstone Devil King. At this moment, the devilish female only felt a hand resting on her shoulder. Turning her head, she saw the Blackstone Devil King. Just let it go. He is destined to be the dragon of darkness that soars through the horizons. He isn't someone you can capture. The Blackstone Devil King spoke in a light voice. The eyes of the devilish female turned even redder. She stared at her father, but it wasn't easy for this princess to fall in love with a man. If he were to leave just like that, this princess wouldn't be able to accept this. Silly lass. The Blackstone Devil King rubbed her head, not knowing how to console her. After Qin Wenyan and the others left the Devil King Palace, they directly flew on their flying swords. The demon sword transformed into a gigantic sword as the shadow of a great rock appeared beneath it. It was as though this sword was transformed from a great rock and was as fast as lightning, speeding towards a certain direction. The teleportation arrays on the fallen devil island that lead to the other devil regions were all controlled by different supreme devil sections. They were all independent devil sects, and by using the teleportation arrays, they would be able to earn bountiful rewards. Every time they used the teleportation arrays, the price would be exorbitant. Ordinary devil cultivators wouldn't be able to afford it. Only devil kings would be able to afford it. Naturally, since this was the territory of the fallen devil emperor, the profits they earned would naturally be paid in tribute. Since the devil emperor was in control of the fallen devil region, even if he didn't do anything, the amount of resources he would be able to earn every day would still be astronomical. If there were no benefits, what was the point of being the ruler? There are people following us. Wear this well, although it isn't of much use, it can withstand some attacks. Qin Wendian waved his hand and took out some puppet armors. These were the puppet armors he obtained when he entered the Battle Saint tribe back then. Their defensive prowess was extremely terrifying, but they had yet to reach the Immortal King or Devil King level. To the current Qin Wendian and the others, they were already of little use. But they could still withstand some attacks for them. Qin Wendian removed the puppet armors one by one. Everyone wore them and continued on their way, already making their preparations for battle. Sir Qin, what's your current condition? Xanyu asked with some worry. Qin Wendian had already expended a terrifying amount of energy during his battle against Huang Shatian, and he was also injured. If he had to face another battle, how would he be able to withstand it? This was also the reason why Xanyu felt that Qin Wendian was too impulsive. Although it was his true personality, by doing so he would undoubtedly place himself in a dangerous situation. For experts of the devil path, for the sake of achieving their goals, they wouldn't care about bullying the weak. Qin Wendian displayed shocking strength on the battlefield. He definitely had some terrifying innate arts and techniques. If he obediently accepted the reward from the Devil Emperor, no one would dare to touch him. But since he rejected the reward and offended the Devil Emperor, it would be strange if those people didn't do anything. The Blackstone Devil King understood these Devil Kings the most. Hence, he instantly transmitted his voice to Qin Wendian, telling him to leave the fallen Devil Island immediately. Don't worry. Qin Wendian spoke. Xanyu still had a look of worry on her face, hoping that those devil cultivators wouldn't react too quickly. As long as they left the fallen Devil Island, they would be safe. Their speed was extremely quick, and after some time, a gigantic sect appeared in their vision. Xanyu silently heaved a sigh of relief. They immediately left after exiting the Devil Emperor Palace. There shouldn't be too many devil cultivators who reacted, right? Over there. Xanyu pointed ahead. There was an extremely resplendent spatial light flashing. They directly entered the devil sect, and in an instant, Qin Wendian could clearly sense terrifying devil senses shooting over. Most probably, they were experts from the devil sect guarding the Grand Formation. Let's head to the vast Sky Devil region. Xanyu spoke. After that, with a wave of her hand, she actually took out the interspatial ring Qin Wendian gave her and directly tossed it to the Guardian of the Grand Formation. The Guardian checked it and glanced at them. You can activate the Grand Formation now. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed. I've decided to stay in the Celestial Devil Lodge. I have no use for it. Xanyu smiled gently at Qin Wendian. You guys can go ahead. Take care. Qin Wendian cast a deep glance at Xanyu. After that, they stepped onto the teleportation array. Activate the Grand Formation. The Guardian spoke. Hold on. At this moment, a voice drifted over from afar. Qin Wendian's expression changed. The experts who were tracking him in the dark had arrived. One of them was someone Qin Wendian recognized. It was the Black Jiao Devil King. His expression was sinister and cold. Back then when Qin Wendian defeated his son, he still hadn't forgotten. Hence, he had been keeping an eye on Qin Wendian. Now that there was such a good opportunity, how could he not grab it? Other than this person, there were actually two others. One was an expert from the Royal Devil Sect, and the other was someone sent by the old Xia Devil King. They were the ones who paid the most attention to Qin Wendian, and the moment they saw Qin Wendian leaving, they immediately gave chase. They truly didn't want to give Qin Wenyan any chance at all and wanted Qin Wentian's life. Other than Qin Wentian's life, they also wanted the treasures on Qin Wenyan. I want to use this grand formation as well. The Black Jiao Devil King directly stepped into the formation. With a wave of his hand, he tossed an interspatial ring to the guardian. The other two Devil Kings did the same as well. They stood beside Qin Wenyan, as though nothing had happened. No problem. The person guarding the array smiled. This kind of inter-region teleportation array formation was activated only a few times, and the price for activating it was the same every time. After that, 3 more people came to deliver treasures of their own accord. It could be said to be an extra harvest, so they were naturally happy. Xin Yu's expression changed. Her silhouette flashed as she also stepped into the formation. I want to go as well. Activate the formation. The formation abruptly lit up. The expressions of Qin Wenyan and the others turned unsightly. These Devil Kings were extremely intelligent. They actually didn't choose to act on the fallen Devil Island. After all, it was easy to attract other experts, and at that time, it was still unknown who the treasures belonged to. Hence, they might as well harden their hearts and pay the price to follow Qin Wenyan. In that case, the treasures would be theirs. The formation activated, a terrifying spatial light flashed, and at this moment, there were actually several Devil Kings who arrived. When they personally saw Qin Wenyan and the others vanishing, their countenances couldn't help but to change. There are people from the old Xia Devil King. Let's retreat. A Devil King spoke. There were some who hesitated, but ultimately, they chose to retreat. If they were a step too late, they most probably wouldn't be able to get a share of the spoils. In the vast Sky Devil region, the vast Sky Devil Island was also an incomparably gigantic floating island. Outside this island, it was a boundlessly vast stretch of desolation, filled with clouds and mist. These desolated areas were all ungoverned by anyone. At this moment, a dazzling light flashed. This was an extremely terrifying spatial energy. Boundless spatial law energy converged as numerous figures descended from the void, appearing in the desolate area outside the vast Sky Devil Island. Clearly, this was a one-way teleportation array. The vast Sky Devil Island would never allow the fallen Devil Island to open up a teleportation array on their island. Many of the teleportation arrays in the Devil regions were all opened up in secret. Bizazi. At the instant these people appeared, a supremely powerful beam of sword light flashed as demonic chi towered up into the sky. The shadow of a fearsome great rock appeared, enveloping Qin Wenyan and the others within. In 3 directions, 3 Devil Kings stood with their hands behind their backs, their eyes gleaming with terrifying devilish light. Things have already reached this stage. Do you still want to resist? The Black Jiao Devil King coldly spoke. The subordinates of the old Xia Devil King spoke. Do you guys want to vie with me? I only want a share of the spoils. An expert from the Royal Devil sect spoke. The 3 of them were already discussing how to divide the spoils of Qin Wenyan. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.